Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. Today we will see what if Naruto was given a special seal, when the demon within him wakes. If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. The fourth Hokage stood upon Gamabunta, beginning a chain of signs. In front of him was the great demon fox known to man as Kyuubi. His 9 tails lashed about, killing the multiple Konoha ninjas that were brave enough to face such a fearsome beast. The people died in waves, one after another. Noticing this, the fourth tried to complete the signs faster. Once he had completed the sign, he held his hands up to the beast in front of him. "Kyuubi, you shall not destroy Konoha," he shouted from atop his giant frog. Kyuubi simply laughed at him, continuing with his destruction. The fourth then had a bright light coming out of him, and Kyuubi's soul could be seen, coming out of his body, which quickly became nothingness, and it entered an infant's child, that was in a small ritual circle. The fourth fell down from exhaustion. That jutsu cost more than chakra overload though. Once used it would cause him to die shortly after the sealing. The fourth staggered over to the child wrapped in the blankets now, and stroked his hair. He had a smile form on his face when the child's face showed one of joy and affection. "Arashi, you will never be forgotten, and I will make sure that your child here will be treated nicely as well," Sarutobi said as he walked over to the dying man. "Don't let anyone know he's my son," Arashi said as he fell to the ground, breathing heavily. He might have assassination attempts on him. He coughed a few times, blood beginning to draw from his mouth. "Tell him, when you think the time is right," he said, his eyes beginning to become lifeless. "Arashi, I'm sorry. I should have done the sacrifice, then this child would be raised with a father," Sarutobi said, looking truly sad. Arashi simply held his hand up to silence the man. "The seal? I provided one last thing for Kyuubi and the boy alike to enjoy," Arashi said, chuckling lightly, which caused him to cough up more blood. "In time, my child will have a father, one that will be better than me." Sarutobi could feel the tears rising in his eyes as he saw the one in front of him slowly losing his life. He wiped them away and asked one last question from the dying man: "What shall his name be?" Arashi didn't move for a little bit, and Sarutobi thought he was dead, but finally a little breath could be heard saying, "Na-ru-to." Arashi passed away on that spot. Several Konoha ninjas entered the ritual circle to retrieve his body for burial, and Sarutobi went forth to grab the child that was lying on the small crib that held him. He grabbed the baby and held him in the air. "So, you're Naruto. I hope the village will come to accept you in time. You're a hero, but the villagers I fear may see you as a demon, only time will tell." Sarutobi lowered the child down and wondered out loud, "I wonder what Arashi meant when he said the seal would provide Kyuubi and Naruto one last thing to enjoy." 4 years later, the child ran literally for high life. Behind him at least 20 people were chasing him around the town, trying to hurt him with various things they could find. The boy had spiked blonde hair and sky blue eyes. He wore a black shirt and some shorts, which had multiple pockets built in them. Right now, the child was frightened. The people behind him screamed in anger as they charged at him. A little before, Naruto had simply walked out of his apartment, and was greeted by almost 20 people. They all held multiple things that could easily pierce through Naruto's skin. He saw this, and ran as fast as his short legs could possibly take him. "Get back here, brat, you demon. You should have died when you were born. You don't deserve to live." All these things the people yelled at him, causing him more pain and suffering to his emotional mind. He was only 5 years old. What had he done wrong? Naruto ran into a corner, which had no way out. He stared blankly as he finally figured that his life was already coming to an end. In a cry of mixed emotions he cried, "I don't want to die." The people that pinned him in the corner snorted, and began to walk forward to the boy. Naruto backed up, tears falling out from his blue eyes. He lost his breath when one of the people kicked him, hard, in the chest. Naruto coughed up blood, and fell to the ground. His wails of pain were not heard within the crowd, and finally he fell unconscious. "Is it dead yet? We can always do it again to make sure, The others laughed in agreement, and looked down at the bloody person in front of them. Suddenly, red chakra filled the air in front of them, making them all fall hard on their butt. "Finally, I can come out and play," the voice said. The red chakras swirled around some more, beginning to startle the men. The chakra suddenly twisted over next to Naruto, and began to form a shape of a man. Once the chakra had completed the shape, it quickly retreated equally into Naruto, and the man now standing next to Naruto's body. "What is this?" the person said. He wore a long black robe that covered his entire body, and he had red hair that reached down to his shoulders. The only feature that truly scared the men standing before him was his red silted eyes. Kyuubi? A man stuttered as he looked at the tall figure towering over him. Kyuubi smirked and killed the man by slashing his claws at him. Blood flew in the air, and Kyuubi happily let it fly onto his face. The taste of blood made him want more, so he continued to slaughter more around him. He began to laugh. This was his true purpose. As soon as it began, it quickly ended. Now, I need to shift into fox mode and continue with the destruction of Konoha. He muttered as he began a series of complex hand signs. He quickly felt a very huge burning sensation, and moved his hands away from each other. They were burnt badly. What the hell? He asked himself as he tried once again, getting the same results. God fucking damn, he shouted. Finally something began to speak within its mind. In Kyuubi's mind. Kyuubi, you have finally awoken from when I sealed you. Who are you? Kyuubi asked, not caring about the cold glance at him. I'm the one that sealed Naruto inside of you, Arashi. Oh really? Well, I have to say, that was one pretty damn good seal you made, but since I was freed, I guess it served no purpose, did it? Arashi laughed at Kyuubi, who obviously became pissed off. Before Kyuubi could yell at him he said, the seal was made so you could purposely get out, Kyuubi. Since I died sealing you in my only son, I decided, why not give him a father? So, I figured you could do the job for me. I have given you things that you haven't had in your past life, love, happiness, a child you care for, something a lot would want to achieve. Kyuubi looked stunned, but shook it off and said, what if I refuse and just kill the kid? He asked. Arashi gave him a cold glare. If you kill my son out of hate and greed, you will die alongside him. If he dies because you hired someone, you will die with him. The only exception to this is if I deem his death as something that even you had no clue about, or could not prevent. Kyuubi was shocked to say the least. Finally he asked, why can't I turn into my fox form anymore? You know, I liked having 9 tails, and sharp claws, and teeth that could destroy half of the world. You can only gain power if you're defending the one you love. Arashi stated calmly and confidently. I'm a demon, I cannot, even if I could, I would never want such a worthless ability. He shouted back at the man. Like I said, you can now have a huge array of emotions that you previously didn't have. Also, there are some other important things. First of all, you two share a mental bond, meaning you can communicate with each other using your minds. Secondly, only you can hear me. Think of it as I sealed myself inside of you to seal you inside of him. Lastly, don't kill any more people. I only allowed you to do that because they nearly killed my son. Kyuubi sighed and said, I seriously hate you and all you puny little humans. Kyuubi suddenly felt dozy, and fell on the ground of his mind. Corner Naruto is in. Kyuubi got up. He wasn't in a particularly good mood, but he figured, since he had no choice, he shouldn't make a huge deal out of it. He looked to the boy and picked him up, somehow knowing the exact way back to his apartment. He left the bodies for the flies. He though, deserved it. Once they entered the apartment, Kyuubi put Naruto down on his bed, and he walked back into the main room. Once there, he sat on the couch in the corner of the room. Arashi? You there? Right here. Now what do you want? Arashi asked, somewhat irritated. So, what should I do when the brat wakes up? Should I suddenly say, hi, I'm some guy you've never met before, and I'm going to be your new father? I hope you enjoy my company. Arashi let out a long laugh. He collected himself and said, I really think you won't mind all that much. He was kicked out of the foster home when he was only 3, and no one ever wants to be around him. Arashi's tone became that of sadness. Even the children began to adopt their parents' behavior and stay away from him. How do you know this? Kyuubi asked, a little interested in how he had known all the information he had not known in the boy he had been sealed in for 4 years. I can read his memories, lots of sad ones in there I tell you. Kyuubi looked to Naruto's room and sighed. Poor kid, I guess I won't be compared to anyone when I adopt him as my child. Kyuubi thought for a moment, and then asked, what should I be called? What should you be called? Arashi asked, not getting what Kyuubi was saying. I should have a new name. I'm pretty damn sure no one in Konoha is going to want to be around Naruto if his father's name is Kyuubi. Although it's the whitest name in the world. We should call you Arashi though for a moment and said, Koga. Koga? Kyuubi asked, making sure he had the name right. Yes, it is perfect. Whatever. So, you shall now call me Koga. Kyuubi announced triumphantly. Okay Koga, I'm going to go rest inside your mind. Also, mind cleaning this place up? It's really a dump in here. I'll be damned if I find another one your stupid memories of hunting a rabbit down when you were just a little kid, and also if. Kyuubi cut off his communication with Arashi and sighed. He removed his black robe and saw his current attire. Now, if I didn't look scary before, this would surely scare away that poor helpless soul. He muttered. He wore torn blue pants and had battle scars all over his visible chest. He quickly decided to wear his robe for now. He turned his head over to a new sound in the room. The young blonde boy looked up to meet the red ones of a guest in his house. Who are you? Naruto asked kindly as he stared at the person before him, but on the inside he was beginning to fear yet another beating. He knew he could not last mentally if something like that happened once again. I'm Koga. I saw those people beating on you, and so I came and helped you out. Koga said clearly. Naruto nodded and walked over but froze when he saw the red silted eyes. Koga noticed this and said, Don't worry, my eyes may be scary, but don't worry, I don't bite. He said as he patted the couch on his left side. Naruto walked over quickly and said, Thank you for saving me sir, I was sure I was going to die there. Koga lifted his head and saw Naruto staring off at nothing. He snapped in the child's face to gain his attention again. You're Naruto, right? Well, I was wondering. Koga spaced off for a second or two, then finally said, I'm going to adopt you as my son. Naruto looked completely shocked at first, then tears filled the brim of his eyes. He looked up at his soon-to-be father, and cried out, Thank you. I've always wanted a father. He hugged Koga tightly and Koga had a strange sensation flowing through him. Arashi, what is this feeling? Koga asked, slightly confused. It is called happiness, you're happy. Damn, another worthless emotion got past my defenses. Koga zoned back into the real world and looked back down on the child who was crying into his shirt. Koga patted his head, and thought of what a father would do in this moment. Koga, hug him back, Arashi yelled in his mind. Koga listened, and embraced the child, the funny sensation in him never going away. He had to admit, it did feel good. So Naruto, do you know where I can officially adopt you? Koga asked. Naruto took hold of his hand, and ran straight out of the door holding the man in black. They went through town, getting many strange glances, and Koga simply glared right back at them, making them back off. Finally they reached the Hokage Tower, where Sarutobi was working. They entered through the front doors, where the Anbu was looking at them probably wondering who that other guy was. Naruto finally reached the top with his newfound father in tow, and burst into the Hokage's office, which scared the old man half to death. When he looked up he smiled as he saw Naruto, but a frown formed when he saw the other person. Hokage-sama, this man saved me from these mean villagers that were about to beat me, but when he arrived, he helped me out in my apartment and also one more thing. Naruto blurted out. And what is that? The Hokage asked, used to Naruto usually bursting in his office for things like this. He said he would adopt me. The Hokage widened his eyes in surprise, but quickly stopped. That man must be the one that killed those people the Anbu found. So, why do you want to adopt this child here? Koga, pleased that he could enter the conversation, began saying, well, what the hell should I say? Just make something up, you idiot. Arashi said from within his mind. I found this kid being beaten on, so I decided to assist him. I took him home, and asked him if he wanted me to adopt him. So, I could protect him some more, and he agreed. And that is why we're here. Koga mentally patted himself on the back. There are too many holes in that story he was telling. Naruto, could you please leave the room for a minute? The Hokage kindly asked. Naruto nodded, and left the room with a huge smile on his face. Sarutobi turned back towards the other person and said, who are you? Like I said, I'm Koga. No, tell him the truth, only him though, not the kid. Arashi said, speaking up in Koga's mind. Okay, if you really want to know who I am, then I shall tell you. Koga bowed down to the person in front of him with a sadistic glare on his face, and said, Kyuubi, at your service. The Hokage nearly swallowed the pipe he was currently smoking, but had enough time to quickly pull it out. So that explains the red eyes. You're the demon? The one that killed Arashi? Killed? I beg to differ. He now constantly bugs me endlessly in my mind, and won't even allow me to get out so I can completely destroy this village. Koga nearly shouted, but kept his voice low enough so no one else could hear it. Arashi is alive? The Hokage asked in an almost gleeful voice. Well, if you consider him basically being sealed inside of me, then yeah, he's still alive. He prevents me from becoming an all-powerful demon. He also prevents me from killing anyone. Is there any possible way I can speak with Arashi? Sarutobi asked. Form these hand signs, Koga. Arashi said within Koga's mind. Koga quickly did the signs, and felt his body go limp. Sarutobi, long time no see. Arashi said from Koga's body, his eyes now blue. Arashi, is it really you? Sarutobi asked as his eyes began to form tears. Yes, listen, I don't have much time before this jutsu ends, but please do as I say. Firstly, let this guy adopt Naruto. I have made sure he would not harm the child. Secondly, file his name in the archives as Uzumaki Koga. Thirdly, don't tell Naruto that Koga is Kyuubi. I understand, Arashi, Sarutobi said as he wiped away a few tears. Koga's body went limp once more, and the demon looked back up, his red eyes showing once again. So, did he tell you everything? Koga asked. Yes, you shall be known as Uzumaki Koga. Please, protect the child, I don't want to see him get harmed anymore. Also about the 20 or so people you killed, since their intention was clearly to kill the boy, I will allow this to slide only once. Thanks, old man, Koga said as he turned around to go pick up his now adopted child. One more thing? Sarutobi said from behind. And what is that, Hokage? Koga said as he sighed and turned around. Make sure you make Naruto go to the Ninja Academy. It is starting in 2 years for him, so do help him prepare. I doubt many have helped him with his skills. I'll be sure to do that, Hokage. Koga turned back around and walked out the door. Once out, he looked down to his adopted son. Smiling, he said, So, do you want to go out to eat, son? In Naruto's house, Koga put the child down on his bed, and he collapsed on the floor. Moonlight shone in from the window, revealing him. He looked back down at himself and muttered a few things to himself. He had decided to keep the black robe, and he brought sunglasses to shield his eyes from the public. He also wore a white t-shirt and the same torn pants. The only difference this time was that he was completely covered in dirt, mud, and paint. My God, who knew shopping could be as difficult as destroying a village? Koga muttered. He heard S snore coming up from the bed, and he glanced at the child. A smile replaced his frown. Looks like you enjoyed yourself. Koga leaned against the wall in his son's room, and thought about the day that had passed. Several hours earlier. Daddy, what are we going to do today? Naruto asked, jumping up and down. They had just left the Hokage Tower, and were wandering around the town. Koga winced slightly at the child calling him daddy, but quickly said, Let's go shopping. I could use some new clothes. Shopping? That is the most boring thing to do. Naruto yelled. He lowered his head and added, No one ever lets me enter their shops anyways. Oh really? Well, that will change. Really? Naruto asked as he looked up to his father figure. Koga had a smile form on his face as he said, Yep, anywhere you want to go we'll go first. Then I'll go shopping for some clothes. Naruto had a huge grin on his face as he took hold on Koga's hand and they ran faster than anyone could keep their eye on them. Finally they arrived at a small shop, with a huge window filled with all kinds of candy. Can we go in there? Naruto asked hopefully. Sure, I don't see why not. Koga said as he took hold of his son's hand and walked in. The lady behind the counter looked up when the door opened, and her face turned into an evil grin. Brat, you're not allowed in here. Kyuubi smiled and closed his eyes and walked up to the person. When he reached the woman he opened his eyes and nearly yelled, You will let him look around and buy, or else you'll face the wrath of me. The lady fell to the ground in fear and stammered, Take anything. Anything you want. Free, yes, it's all free for you. Koga smiled and looked back to his son. Hey, the lady was nice enough to allow you to have anything you want. Naruto smiled and grabbed handfuls of various candies, and filled up 2 plastic bags worth of candy, which Koga carried for the child. Naruto finally felt he was finished and turned to the counter where the lady was only allow her head to raise above the counter. Thank you for allowing me to come here, he said as he waved his hands and left. The lady felt her hateful gaze rise up for the child, but quickly suppressed it when she saw the red eyes of Koga looking straight into hers. Goodbye, she stammered out as the two walked out. She looked back up, and fainted right there. In the shopping district of the town. The shopping district was huge, shops were lined up side by side, and there were multiple people walking around carrying various shopping bags. Koga got imitated quickly, and decided to ask his son where the shop he was looking for was. Okay Naruto, I need some new clothes, possibly a shirt, and maybe a few new pairs of pants. Koga went on explaining to Naruto. Do you know where I can find a store like this? He asked, a little irritated that the child was paying attention to some bug flying around his face. Let's go to where I got my clothes a few days ago. The young child said as he took hold of Koga's hand and ran to a nearby shop. A bell rang as they entered, where they both saw several people looking at them as if the plague has entered with them. Kyuubi chose to ignore them, and led his child over to a corner of the store. There were multiple racks with shirts and pants hanging off them, which would make this an awesome place to hide. Okay, Naruto, stay here while I look around. He pulled out the 2 bags of candy and said, here, eat these while I'm gone. I won't take too long. Naruto nodded and began to munch on the candy that was laid in front of him. Koga nodded at the child and walked off to gather the clothes he needed. He looked on all the racks but couldn't find any shirt that he felt would look good on him. Too bright, too small, too stupid. Koga began to get a little angry, so he decided to go up to the counter of the store. How may I help you? The man behind the counter asked with a smile. Koga noticed some sunglasses for sale and took some so he wouldn't scare the man in front of him. Can you show me where I can find just a plain shirt? He stressed out the plain, and the guy nodded, and beckoned Koga to follow him. Is this what you're looking for? The man asked as he raised up a completely white t-shirt. It had no designs or nothing on it, and he snatched it. Yes, this will do nicely, thank you for assisting me, Koga said as he walked to the back of the store. He could seriously care less about some new pants right now, he just wanted to get out of there. Naruto? Koga asked as he saw 2 bags filled with candy without the person that was supposed to be eating them. Naruto? Where are you? He grabbed both bags and quickly left the store, without paying for his new attire. The security alarm went off when he exited, and he turned around to see 2 ninja, probably low chunin level, yelling at him to come back in and pay. Koga searched the pockets of his black robe. His red hair flew in the air as he frantically searched. Oh fuck, I forgot, I have absolutely no money. Koga sighed. Then come back and give them back their things. The 2 shouted at him. Sorry, but I don't feel like giving these things back, neither do I feel like explaining why. Koga turned around with 2 ninja after as he frantically searched the shopping district. One of the chunin put his hands together to form a few signs. Unable to hear him, Koga paid no attention to what he was going to do, but shortly fell down into a huge streak of mud. What the hell? Was all he shouted as his face entered the mud as well. Koga dug himself out, and looked around. There were many people watching the events unfold before them, and the 2 chunin stood right above him, with a smirk covering both of their faces. Koga quickly turned his confusion into anger, and got up to his feet. Koga, no, do not fight here, just run, Arashi screamed within his mind. Why? Koga whined in his mind. He didn't bother for an answer as he replaced his hateful gaze with an annoyed one, and quickly took off from the 2 guards standing right there. Hey, come back here, the 2 chunin yelled as they and a small crowd ran after Koga. Back in the clothes shop. Itachi, why do we have to be shopping now? A little boy with raven hair and onyx eyes whined to his older brother. He wore a blue shirt which was far too big for him, which had the Uchiha symbol on its back, and he also had some shorts. Because, father told us to go away from the house. If you looked closely enough, you would be able to tell that he was insisting on us to get some new clothes for you. Itachi explained to his younger brother. He wore a black shirt and some blue pants. How can you tell that? It just sounded like he wanted us to hang out somewhere. The younger child said. Sasuke, you'll learn someday when you begin in the academy soon. Itachi said, patting his younger brother on the back. Now just wait here while I go up to the counter and see if I can get something plain and not with all of these fancy designs. Itachi mumbled as he went to the counter. Sasuke sighed as he began to look through the clothes, but he fell back when a monster about his height jumped out at him. It was completely covered in clothes and screamed at him. "Holy crap, what are you? Don't hurt me," Sasuke said in a rapid session as he quickly ran out of the store without his older brother. "Hey, is anyone there?" the monster asked as it began to remove the clothes that was covering it. Once he got the last piece of clothing off, a tall man came walking towards him. The man leaned down to him and asked, "Have you seen a boy about your age that has raven hair?" No I haven't, mister," Naruto muttered as he looked at the person. "God, when I leave him for 5 minutes, he runs off to who knows where." He sighed and said, "I guess I better go look for him." "Wait, have you seen my daddy? He is really tall, and wear this huge black robe, and has red hair." Naruto elaborated for the person. "No, I haven't. Are you lost too? Here, follow me, I'll help you find your dad." The man reached his hand out and added, "By the way, you can call me Itachi." Naruto ran away for a second and came back another second later, carrying 2 bags filled with candy. Itachi looked at them with a little surprise at first, but quickly replaced his frown with a smile and said, "I'll carry one for you. That way we can hold hands and we won't get lost." Naruto nodded and allowed Itachi to hold one. "So, do you know where to look?" Naruto asked. Itachi froze for a second and said, No, I have absolutely no idea where to look." "In an alleyway, nearby the shopping district." "Is the monster gone?" Sasuke yelled to no one as he stopped running to lean against the wall. He looked back and surely there was no monster chasing him. "Thank you. I thought I was a goner for sure," he said. Suddenly he heard footsteps from behind him, and saw a person running right at him with a black robe. "Stupid Chunin, calling in the Anbu to help capture me," Koga muttered under his breath as he looked behind himself, completely oblivious to the boy right in front of him. "Who are you? Why won't you stop? Wah?" Sasuke didn't have time to continue to ask questions when the man ran right into him. Koga tripped and hit the wall, causing a huge bang sound to go throughout Konoha. On the roof of the building, Koga and Sasuke are below. Up above, 2 men, one wearing red with an M on his hat, and the other wearing green with an L on his hat, were almost done carrying the paint up to the rooftop. "Marino, this 20-pound bucket of paint sure is heavy," said a man as he set it down on the ledge. "I know, Lagani, I didn't think it would be so difficult to bring up here. I mean, it's only paint." "Not just paint, but red paint." The 2 strange men exchanged laughter. "Okay, now let's begin painting up here, and help me get it off the ledge before it falls down." "Okay, I'm coming." The 2 were about to grab the huge bucket of paint, but suddenly a huge bang sound erupted from below, and the 20-pound bucket of paint fell over the edge. "No, the paint," yelled one of the men as he leaned over the rail. "Man, that took us all day to carry up here," the one in red cried. "Here, at least I brought us some lunch," the other said as he sat again the ledge with his companion. "What would that be, Lagani?" "I brought." He lifted the food above his head and shouted, "Mushrooms. Oh boy, my favorite." The 2 happily ate there for the rest of the day. Back in the alleyway, Koga finally got himself out of the wall, not without shooting the kid who made him trip a glare. He opened his mouth to say something, but suddenly a huge bucket of paint fell no him. "Gah," was all he could say before he was completely covered in red paint. "Served you right, monster," Sasuke cheered. "Monster? Hey, I'll show you who the real monster is." Koga suddenly threw the bucket off of him to reveal a huge man who previously wore a black robe, now wearing a red one, grabbed the child. He was about to lecture the kid, but he heard people shouting. "There's the shoplifter. Get him." Koga readjusted his sunglasses and said, "Kid, you're coming with me, just call me Koga." Koga suddenly jumped away from the ninjas while holding a child who was now terror-struck. "Why did I have to go shopping today?" Sasuke shouted within his mind as the man was carrying him off. In the shopping district of the village, people shot Naruto evil glares, but quickly softened them when they realized who was holding his hand. Itachi nervously began to walk faster. Finally Naruto asked, "Itachi, why are you walking so fast?" Itachi looked at the child with a hint of worry on his face and said, "Me? Walking too fast? Nah, you are just imagining things." He then looked forward and practically began to drag Naruto. "Oh my gosh, there he is, girls, after him," a girl shouted. Suddenly a few hundred footsteps could be heard behind both Naruto and Itachi. Itachi turned his head around slowly. Once he saw the huge herd of girls, he could not hide the terror showing on his face as he shouted, "Fangirls! He lifted Naruto up to him, and began to run at full speed away from the herd. Itachi turned to corner, and stopped once again. Naruto looked ahead to where he saw a huge herd of men standing. One of them turned in their direction and said, "Hey guys. It's Itachi." The rest turned around and all began to charge at him. Itachi, with more horror on his face showing this time, shouted, "Fanboys." He turned around only to see his fangirls catching up, so he quickly jumped up onto the rooftops and continued to run. He looked down and his fans quickly began to run into the building to retrieve him, so he quickly began to jump rooftop to rooftop in hopes of avoiding the horde of fans. "Itachi, why do they all want to see you?" Naruto asked. "It's nothing big. They all think I'm so great and all, you know." "Why do they think you're great?" Naruto asked, a little curious now. "Because, I'm just a very successful in my ninja career, but they think that I'll become a great figure someday, maybe even Hokage, as if I would want that much responsibility." Itachi shouted, "You might become the next Hokage?" Naruto asked. Itachi nearly fell when he heard his companion's outburst, but decided to just say, "Possibly." "That is so cool. I want your autograph, and also, do you think that you can make me your best ninja, and also?" "Hey, only one request at a time," Itachi said. Sweat was pouring down his face now, not from exhaustion, but from being so nervous. Suddenly both Naruto and Itachi heard screaming, and while in mid-jump, Itachi noticed a huge red-looking thing crashing right towards him. "Oh crap," Itachi yelled as he and the other object collided with each other. They both fell down to the ground with a huge splat sound. After a few minutes, Itachi and Naruto looked up. The other two things did the same. Finally, after a few seconds, Naruto said, "Daddy?" The person in Koga's arms broke free. Now covered in red paint, he looked up to see Itachi and said, "Brother. Thank God you're here." The two groups finally reunited after what seemed like an eternity to the two boys, finally got ready to leave. "So, Naruto, where the heck were you?" "I was, worried." "It is worried Koga." Arashi stressed in his mind. "Right, I was worried about you. Never do whatever you did again." He looked up to the guy and put his hand out and said, "Thank you for finding my son and returning him to me." Koga said. Itachi accepted the man's handshake, even though he was completely covered in red paint. "I thank you for finding my brother and returning him to me as well." Before they could even start a conversation or leave, the herd screaming coming from their left, and men shouting orders on their right. Suddenly the Anbu appeared on the right, and the fangirls, boys, appeared on the left. "Itachi, we found you and your cute little friend." The fans screamed as they rushed down in masses. "Get the one in red, also get his little friend in red that helped him escape." The Anbu yelled, beginning to come down charging at their two targets. "Okay, I'm Itachi, you?" Itachi quickly asked the man in red. "Call me Koga, I'll help you and my son from the fangirls." Koga said. "And allow me to help you and my brother with the Anbu." Itachi said. Both of them took in fighting stances, and waited for their enemies to come at them. One of the Anbu about to hit the man painted in red was suddenly thrown aside as Itachi appeared to defend him. "Itachi, how could you assist this man?" an Anbu officer asked. "He is simply a friend of mine," Itachi stated. Meanwhile, a fangirl was about to jump on Itachi, but Koga appeared right there, and grabbed her wrist and threw her far away. "Why are you keeping us from our loved one?" they all shouted, adopting an angry glare in their eyes. "He is a friend of mine. Besides, he can't be your true love if he doesn't love you back," Koga stated. The fans got extremely angry by this statement and charged at him in huge masses. Onto the side, Sasuke and Naruto were both cheering on their family members while they were munching on the candy Naruto had gotten earlier that day. "You know, besides the fact that your dad carried me along with him munch, he is kind of cool," Sasuke said to his new friend as he watched the fight. "Yeah, same with Munch, your brother, he is really awesome," Naruto said to his first friend. "So, want to play at the playground tomorrow?" Sasuke asked. "Sure, why not?" Naruto said. His 4-year-old heart felt happy that day, finally able to have two new things in one day, a father and a friend. "Okay, I'll see you there," Sasuke said as he grabbed another handful of candy and munched on it some more. "Awesome," was all Naruto could say. Back to the fight, the fans all began to leave with tears in their eyes as they realized that they could not reach their loved one with Koga standing in their way, and the Anbu began to just ask each other if fighting for stolen goods was such a great use of their skills. "Itachi, please, All we want is the money that the guy didn't pay for the things he stole. It isn't that much, I don't even know why we were even called out on this stupid mission. The Anbu pleaded Itachi. Suddenly Itachi's eye began to twitch and he turned around to his new friend and shouted, "They are after you because you didn't pay." "I'm sorry, but I didn't have enough money," Koga said, trying to calm his friend down. Itachi calmed down, and took a good amount of money out of his pocket and threw it to the Anbu saying, "Here, take it." The Anbu happily left right away. "Hey, sorry about not telling you earlier," Koga said. Itachi was about to yell at the person again, but the two little kids ran up to them and said, "You two are so cool. I can't wait until we're ninjas so we can do things like that." Itachi smiled and looked back up to his new friend and said, "Well, I guess I can forgive you. Thanks for helping me out with my fans. And thank you for helping me with the Anbu." They both shook each other's hands and grabbed their child and walked away. "Naruto, remember, I'll be waiting for you at the playground," Sasuke shouted at Naruto. "I'll remember, just you don't forget," Naruto shouted back to his friend. All the while Koga and Itachi had a smile covering their face, as they left for home. Back to present, "You sure had one hell of a day, Koga?" Arashi said within Koga's mind. "I know, but I think I could get used to this." Koga muttered, that Itachi guy was very powerful, might be an awesome sparring partner. "Fighting, is that all you can think of?" Arashi asked while sighing. "No, I thought about Naruto half of the day. Don't accuse me of that." "Oh yeah, well, I better leave you so you can get some sleep. I believe there is a couch you can sleep on in the other room of this apartment," Arashi stated. Koga got up and wandered into the room, and fell onto the couch. "I wonder what tomorrow will bring." Kyuubi in fox mode speaking. At the playground, Naruto and Sasuke were both in the sand, building a huge sand castle. So far, it was large enough for both of them to crawl into and stand. Naruto finally said, "How big do you think it should be?" Sasuke looked at Naruto and said, "As big as we can get it." Naruto nodded, and they both continued to work on it. Occasionally some child would come and ask Sasuke if he wanted to play ball with them, but he kept refusing, saying he would not leave his best friend alone. The child would go back to his friends and tell them that Sasuke was hanging out with a weird kid, and they avoided the two in the sand like a plague. But once the sand castle was big enough to fit more than two people in it, they began to get slightly jealous. "Can we help you?" a small kid asked Sasuke. "Ask my friend over here," Sasuke answered, pointing towards Naruto. The kid faced Naruto and asked, "Well, can we help you?" Naruto looked at the kid and his friend. The one that came and asked had two red stripes on his face, and had the smell of dog reeking off of his sweater. The second boy had a huge collar going around his face, and he looked quite mature for being only a 4-year-old. "Yes, you both can help us out," Naruto shouted. Soon the four had built quite a large castle, and began to work on higher floors, and soon enough, almost every child in the playground was helping build it. Over to the side, both Itachi and Koga were watching with a little interest, wondering how such small children could accomplish such a task. "How do you think they could build it so large?" Koga asked as he sat on a bench. He got a new bilk robe, and had his sunglasses on. "Hey, with all of those children there, it should be bigger," Itachi muttered. "So, want to do something else? I'm getting kind of bored sitting here doing nothing." "Hey, I was thinking the same thing actually." The both got up to see their son, brother. When they reached the small fort that the children were currently living in, they stopped. "Sasuke, Naruto," Itachi called. "Yes, Itachi?" Naruto called up. "Koga and I are going to do something for a little bit. You two don't get injured or anything, alright?" "Got it, brother," Sasuke called up. After that Itachi walked off with Koga following him. "So," Koga tried to think of anything, "what rank are you?" "Right now, I'm a Junin, but soon I'll be part of the Anbu," Itachi answered. "Wow, that is not bad," was all Koga could manage to think of to say. "It isn't that great. My father has been putting a lot of pressure on me. It seems as though he wants me to become an Anbu so he can tell me something." "What is it do you think he wants to tell you?" Koga asked, vaguely interested. "I'm not sure. Relations with the Hyuga family haven't been going well. It might be something about that," Itachi said, pondering on the situation. "Could be." "Hey, Koga?" Itachi asked as he looked up at the person traveling with him. "Did you know your child is the one that has Kyuubi sealed within him?" "I've known, but he and the demon are separate, trust me, I know," Koga said. a faint smile forming on his lips. At the playground. Kiba? Kiba, where are you? Some woman was asking as she searched the playground for her child. I'm in here, Mom, he shouted from within the huge sandcastle she was nearby. Come on, we have to go now. His mother called again. Soon enough he jumped over the walls and left. Everyone else waved their goodbyes to him, but when his mother saw Naruto she hurried off faster. So, now that we have built this awesome fort, what should we name it? A girl with a purple dress and blonde hair asked. I don't know. Naruto, what do you think it should be called? Sasuke asked. It is now officially called the Uchiha Fort. Naruto proclaimed. That is an awesome name. Sasuke couldn't help but say. After a while their parents were picking up the children, leaving behind only Naruto and Sasuke in their fort. The sky had gotten pretty dark now, and Naruto had a sad glint in his eyes, so his friend decided to see what was wrong. Naruto, is something bothering you? Sasuke asked. I always wonder what it is like to have parents who always care for you, huge you when you're sad, tuck you in at night. I wish I could experience that. Naruto sadly said. Doesn't Koga count as a parent? Hey, yeah, he is the best dad I have ever had. I just hope he doesn't abandon me. Why would he do that? Sasuke asked with a confused look in his eyes. Actually, why does everyone hate you? You're really nice. Naruto looked up with a smile faint on his lips. I don't know why everyone hates me, but they do. Also Sasuke. Sasuke looked up to his friend. What is it? You're the first and best friend I have. Hey, same goes here. You're also my first, and also my best friend. The two exchanged some smiles as they looked up to the sky where stars were becoming visible. They fell on their backs and just looked up to the sky. Finally Naruto broke the silence asking, where is Daddy and Itachi? Nearby the playground. Itachi, if you're suspicious of your own clan, then why not report to the Hokage? I'm sure he can do something about this. Koga said as they began walking back to the playground. You and I both know that the Uchiha clan is practically controlling the government of Konoha. They would never believe me if I just went up to the Hokage and said, there is something the Uchiha clan is hiding from you and the rest of the world. Itachi said as he sighed. Fine Itachi, but if you find anything out about your clan, then consult me first, I have had years of experience. I know what betrayal feels like, and this may be it. How can you know that, Koga? Itachi asked, somewhat surprised that someone agreed with his concerns. Trust me, if you're betrayed, or if your ideals are not recognized, you will do something crazy, and you'll regret it for the rest of your life. Koga could feel his eyes beginning to glass over as he said, I know I regretted it when I felt that way. I see, Koga, I'll consult you. You seem to have the wisdom that I'll need when the time comes. Itachi said as he looked ahead, and could almost feel as though his jaw hit the ground. Holy shit. How could they build something so big? Koga muttered after the initial surprise. The world will never know. Itachi said as he and his friend wandered towards it. They reached what looked like the front door and entered it. The fort had multiple levels, and was thick enough that a grown man would have a hard time punching their way through it. Daddy! Naruto shouted as he tried to jump on top of his father from above. Koga barely had enough time to react and catch his son at the same time. How are you doing, Naruto? Koga asked as he put his son on the ground. I'm fine, how about you? Naruto said as he hugged his father. I'm doing great, Naruto. Koga said, producing a smile in the process. Hey brother, you ready to head back home? Sasuke asked as he too jumped from the top floor, but aimed for the ground and not his brother. Yes, let's go, Sasuke. Itachi said with a smile on his face as well. After saying their goodbyes to each other, the two groups separated from each other. As Naruto and Koga were walking down their path, they saw a man wearing completely black. Koga looked harder and also noticed a little girl heaved over his back. Hey you, what are you doing with that girl? Koga yelled at the man. What? The guy said as he looked ahead to see a small child and a strange man wearing a black robe walking towards him. You heard me, what are you doing with the girl? Oh, you mean this girl? Well, you see, she has to be punished because she decided to. Cut the shit. What are you seriously doing? Koga asked, his eyes narrowed at the man in front of him. Naruto got behind his father, and peeked around his leg to see what was going on. Whenever his father cussed, then he knew something bad was going to happen. Okay, this here is the Hyuga heiress, she has the Byakugan, which we, the Cloud, need. You're kidnapping her? When you just made an alliance with this village? Huh, The alliance was just to make this village think that we were not going to strike anymore. This village is so gullible that a demon could probably walk in here without anyone knowing. Hey, you're right about the last part, but I'm not letting you have the girl. Koga got in a fighting stance and looked down to the child that was now shaking. Naruto, go hide somewhere. Now, Naruto nodded his head and ran to hide, leaving Koga and the enemy ninja behind. The cloud ninja put the little girl against the wall, and also got in a fighting stance. Koga, don't kill this guy. The Cloud Village can use it to their advantage if he is killed, and they may say that Konoha violated their treaty. Arashi said, speaking to Koga. God damn, so I cannot kill you. Koga muttered as he looked forward to the man in front of him. Die, idiot, the Cloud Ninja shouted as he began to attack. He began by running up to Koga, and just used Taijutsu, which Koga easily was able to dodge. Koga managed to get in a couple of good hits on the guy. You're a pathetic weakling? Koga said as he walked forward to the man. The Cloud Ninja took on an angry expression and charged at the person in front of him. He lashed out a hard punch that hit Koga dead in the face, breaking his sunglasses in the process. When the man brought his fist back, he could only look in terror as the person in front of him glared at him with demonic eyes. You are a demon, the man yelled as he began to crawl away from the man. Koga didn't give him a chance, and stepped as hard as he could onto the man's back, making him shriek in pain. Please, spare me, I don't want to die. He wailed on. That's better, allow me to turn you into the Hokage. He turned around and saw Naruto running back to him. Naruto, stay with the girl while I go turn this man in. He grabbed the man by the collar and performed a few hand signs and teleported away. Naruto wandered to the girl's side, and checked her forehead. He was only 4, so he used the only medical techniques he could think of, which wasn't surprisingly small for his age. What happened? The Hyuga heiress finally spoke after what seemed like an eternity to Naruto. She only wore a sweater and some pants. Someone kidnapped you, but don't worry, my dad saved you. He should be back in a little bit to take you home. Naruto said to her. She blushed slightly when Naruto smiled at her and she stuttered, "Tth, thank you. It's no problem. So, what is your name?" Naruto asked as he leaned against the fence that she too was leaning against. Hinata? She said only above a whisper, her blush still remained. That is a nice name. You can call me Naruto, he said as he put his hand towards her. She accepted it and shook hands with him. It made her blush slightly darker. So, what do you want to talk about? Naruto asked. His father was taking quite a long time. Well, She could not form complete sentences, which made her slightly more nervous around the boy. So, where are your parents? Naruto asked. I don't know, they were coming after me, but then that man used some just you, and escaped from them. I thought he was really going to take me away. Thank you again. She managed to form that whole sentence. I see, well dad should be able to take you back home when he comes back. At the Hokage Tower. Hokage-sama, here is the body of a person who tried to kidnap the Hyuga heiress. Koga said as he suddenly puffed into the Hokage office where a lot of Hyugas and the Hokage were talking. You found him? What about the girl he was carrying? The Hokage asked. I left her with Naruto as I brought back this guy. Koga said, motioning to the guy he was dragging by the collar. You left my daughter with that demon child? The Hyuga head practically yelled. For your information, Hyuga, he is not a demon, he is the carrier of a demon. Koga wished he could reveal the irony to this man and tell him that the demon was standing right in front of him. There is no difference, the head yelled. You want to bet? Koga asked as he looked at the man. His red eyes seemed to pierce the man's soul. You wouldn't know a thing? This house lost a lot to that monster. I don't want my daughter to be around. The boy, because he is carrying it. The head could even feel how unprofessional his excuse sounded, and got slightly embarrassed. Fine, so he may not be a demon. I will only tolerate my daughter being with him. I don't have to like it, the man said after a short period of time. Koga, I thank you for bringing back this cloud ninja. They will pay for not obeying their part of the alliance. The Hokage muttered. Hey Koga, ask if he could promote you to Junin. Arashi insisted in his mind. Why I really don't feel like doing anything. Koga, you are, or once were, a huge evil demonic demon fox that caused destruction on a massive scale. You do not want to just do nothing and lose your ability. That makes sense. Koga sighed mentally. Hokage-sama, I have one last request, can I please be promoted to Junin? Koga asked, seemingly out of the blue. Well, you've proven your worth, and I know your past. The Hokage thought for a moment before saying, very well, when you feel ready to begin accepting assignments come to me. Thanks Hokage-sama, Koga cheered. Wait, you must get your Junin vest first. The Hokage walked up to him and beckoned him to follow. They both exited the room and walked through a small series of hallways, and finally reached a storage area. Here you go, the Hokage said as he heaved a vest up to the Junin. Let me warn you, if you become Kyuubi again, I will kill you. Koga smirked and said, even if I returned to being my demon fox self, you would never stand a chance against me. I would still try. Now, have a nice night Koga. The Hokage lead the man back to his office. Hiyashi, let Koga here lead you to your daughter so we all can just go home and do what we wish to. The Hokage finished and walked back to his desk. Let's go Hyuga, Koga said, having an obvious dislike to the man he was transporting. He grabbed hold of the man and did a few hand signs, and instantly they were gone. Back to Naruto and Hinata. I don't know, I think I should go here. Naruto muttered. That means I'll go here. Hinata said as she sat next to him. Crap, then I'll move. Here, Naruto used the stick he was holding to draw an X. That leaves me victor as I move here. Hinata said as she drew another O, making her the winner. You're good Hinata, Naruto said, making Hinata regain a faint blush on her cheeks. Thank you, she mumbled out. No need to thank me. Let's do another game, Naruto said. Both children have been left alone for about a half hour, making them impossibly bored. They decided to play tic-tac-toe. Hinata had managed to not stutter as much when she seemed to be talking to herself, but when speaking to anyone, she would constantly stutter. So, did you two miss me? A man asked from behind Naruto. Daddy, Naruto shouted as he jumped up to hug the person behind him. Naruto, how have you been? And how are you Eris? He asked as he looked down to the girl. Why you, can, call me? Hinata, she stammered, then she said, thank you, for, saving me? She bowed down to the man to give him respect. If only your father were like you, he'd have my respect easily such as you have mine. Koga said. Hinata, let's get going. Hiyashi said as he stepped out from behind Koga. Hinata nodded, and got up. I'll see you later Koga-sama, Naruto-kun. She got up and ran over to her father. No need to call me Sama Hinata. I hope to see you soon as well. Koga said he waved to the girl. See you later Hinata, Naruto said, waving to her. She had a slight blush on her face, but waved goodbye to them. Afterwards Hiyashi picked her up and left, leaving the two people behind. Naruto, I think that girl has something for you. Koga stated, smiling at his son. What? Nah, we're just close friend. Naruto assured his father with a smile. Koga looked at his son and sighed. Kids are so blind. He grabbed Naruto's hand, and they both continued on their way to their home. At the Uchiha household. Sasuke, can I come in? Someone asked from outside Sasuke's bedroom. Sasuke lifted his head from his pillow. It was close to midnight, and his older brother wanted to talk with him. What is it Itachi? Sasuke asked, annoyance clear in his voice. Sasuke, it is something really important that I must know. Sasuke sighed and said, fine, come in. Itachi entered the room, and quickly closed the door behind him. He walked over to Sasuke's desk and grabbed the chair and sat near his brother's bed. So what do you need Itachi? Sasuke asked. Sasuke, if Dad and I were to fight, which one would you choose to join? Itachi asked. Is this some kind of trick question? Sasuke asked, clearly confused. No, just answer the question, it is very serious. Itachi assured his little brother. I don't know, I would depend on what you did. Sasuke asked. Is that your answer? Itachi asked. Well, you always acknowledge me? Dad always tells me how to be as great as you, but I can't be that good. With you, you always help me with shopping, and things that I usually don't like to do. So, in a way, I would choose you over our father. Sasuke said. Thank you Sasuke, Itachi stated as he got up. He went to the door before his brother said, Night Itachi. Itachi looked back into the room where his brother now smiled at his and waved. Good night, Sasuke. Kyuubi in Fox mode speaking. The Ninja Academy. After 2 years, Koga and Itachi have become great friends. They both considered each other their best friend actually. Sasuke and Naruto were in the same position, thinking of each other as best friends as well. Within 2 years Itachi managed to finally make it to the Anbu ranking, and Koga joined a little afterwards. Around the same time Sasuke and Naruto entered the Ninja Academy. Sasuke had begun to develop a fangirl club that chased him everywhere he went. Naruto would always help him hide and even risked his life to distract them for a little bit. In return, Sasuke usually decided to get Naruto some ramen, which he quickly found the boy loved. One day while the two were at the academy waiting in their chairs for their teacher, Naruto decided to pull a prank. "Hey Sasuke, I need your help for this one, it's going to be great." Naruto said smirking. "Why should I help you? It'll get us both in trouble." Sasuke asked. "It has to do something about getting your fangirls away from you for a while." Naruto said. "What do you need?" Sasuke asked, his 6-year-old body ready to do anything to get rid of the fangirls. "Okay, in order to do this we must get a shovel." "A shovel?" Sasuke asked, a sweat drop forming behind his head. "Yes, do you know where I can go find one?" Naruto asked. Soon, after a little trouble, Sasuke and Naruto managed to get a shovel from the workshop next to the academy grounds. Naruto made a blueprint on his desk, and showed Sasuke what was to be done. Soon, both boys wore a huge grin as they began to set up their trap. The others obviously grew interested in what was going on, and watched the boys work. Finally, after what seemed like a couple of hours to the boys, they finished, and walked back to their seats with an innocent look on their faces. "Hey Ino Pig, I am going to win," someone shouted from outside. "No way forehead girl, I'm going to win so I can sit next to Sasuke." The other yelled. "No way." The other yelled, then suddenly the door burst open revealing a pink-haired girl wearing a pink dress, and a girl wearing a purple dress with long blonde hair. Once they stepped foot into the classroom, the prank began. When the door opened, it stretched a wire, which was currently keeping a small ball in place. When the wire broke by becoming too tight, the ball fell through a series of tunnels Naruto and Sasuke created. Then once it went past all of those, it fell outside, and a shovel with a huge amount of dirt on it shot like a catapult, and hit both girls head on in the face. Yes, Operation Prank Fangirls completed, Naruto muttered under his breath. Behind the two now confused girls came one with a sweatshirt on, and some baggy pants. She was confused as to why there were two girls completely covered in mud, but when she saw Naruto and Sasuke with their grins on, she knew right away. She walked over to Naruto and Sasuke and said, "You know, you two are going to have to stay after to clean that up?" "Yeah, but it was worth it, don't you think Sasuke?" Naruto asked. "Yeah, they deserve it for never stopping to annoy me." "So, Hinata, I see you're almost over your stuttering problem," Naruto said with a huge grin. Thank you," she mumbled out. "Naruto, you're an idiot sometimes," Sasuke muttered. In the front of the classroom, Iruka finally appeared and began saying, "Everyone, get in your seats." Once everyone found a seat to sit in, he began to say, "Today, you'll get your first report card. Some of you did very well, and others did terrible. I wonder what grades I got." Naruto muttered. "I know I have the highest grade in everything," Sasuke said smirking. "I'm sure you two did well." Hinata said. "I think you'll do fine as well Hinata," Naruto said, showing her a thumb up sign. Hinata blushed slightly and said, "Thank you. Also class, whoever made that huge mess on the ground will have to stay after and clean it up. Now whoever did it, stand up now." Iruka shouted. He already knew who it probably was. "I did," Naruto said standing. "And, I helped," Sasuke said standing with his friend. "Okay, Naruto, Sasuke, you both are going to stay after for 2 hours to clean this up, and for a lecture from me about doing these kind of things." Iruka shouted. "I knew I was going to regret this," Sasuke muttered. "Anyways, with that aside, when I call your name, please come up here and grab your report card." First up, Nara Shikamaru. Shikamaru went to grab his card and looked at his grade. He dropped his head and muttered, "How troublesome." After a little while Iruka finally said, "Uchiha Sasuke." Sasuke smirked and went to grab his card. "Yes, full credit and everything," he said to his friends as he showed it to them. "That is awesome Sasuke," Naruto said excitedly. Uzumaki Naruto. "Good luck, Naruto-kun." "Thanks Hinata," he said as he walked to get his card. Uchiha Secret Clan House. "Itachi, from now on, you're sworn to not tell anyone what conversations we've had in this room. If you do, we have full right to come and kill you." One of the men dressed in an Anbu outfit said. "Yes, father," Itachi stated as he walked into a huge room, where plenty of Uchiha members were located. "Now, we all know here, that we all have some of the Hyuga blood in us. Our bloodline is almost identical to theirs, but they still have a more superior one, making them the first choice if a threat was to come to Konoha." "Why does it matter?" Itachi asked. "Why? Because, we have the right to be trusted by the Hokage much more than them, yet he still puts more faith in the Hyuga family. This is a fatal mistake that he won't be able to fix." "Wait, you're just jealous of the Hyuga bloodline. You can't just state this as a good reason to do anything drastic to Konoha," Itachi stated. "No, Itachi, that is not all. Besides the Hyuga, the Hokage has been giving our clan, one of the most wanted bloodlines in the world, much too little credit. If we lived somewhere else, I'm sure the cage would make us their head protectors, and grant us huge funds. This cage doesn't know our superiority, so, we shall show him just how much better we are." "No, that is just greed and hatred. You can't just do something like this because you feel you're not getting enough. Do you see the Hyuga family doing this?" Itachi yelled at them. "Itachi, we knew you would be like this, so we grant you this." The man pulled a torn letter out. "This paper will tell the way how to advance our bloodline to the last level. We know you'll assist us if you are allowed to achieve this." Itachi hesitated, he had not known there was another level to the Sharingan. Itachi thought some more. "I accept your offer." "Good." The man turned to the rest of the Uchiha members in the room. "Everyone, our operation begins in 3 days. Get prepared to do this." "What is the operation?" Itachi asked. "Listen carefully, Itachi. First, we'll take over the Hokage Tower. Since a majority of the Anbu there are Uchiha, it will be simple. We will drug the Hokage with his morning coffee so he is unable to fight at all. After that, we'll begin our attack at the Hyuga, killing any other person that gets in our way." He lifted up a small signed paper that had something written on it. "We're going to be smuggling in cloud ninjas to assist us in killing off the Hyuga clan." "You're crazy? Is every Uchiha in on this plan?" Itachi asked. "No, you and your younger brother were the only two left out of it. I hope you are able to get the next level of our bloodline. Do your best, Itachi." "Father," was all Itachi managed to say as he turned around to leave with the scroll in hand. The Ninja Academy. Class has ended, leaving behind only 3 people, Iruka, Sasuke, and Naruto. Sasuke and Naruto were both still at work cleaning up the mess they had made earlier, and Iruka was waiting for them to finish so he could begin his lecture to them. "Why did I listen to you?" Sasuke asked for the 100th time that day. "Because, you wanted to get back at your fangirls for being so annoying." Naruto answered. "Sometimes I wonder how we became friends. Who cares, let's just clean this up so Iruka can give out his boring lecture and we can go." "Yeah, we should hurry up," Sasuke muttered as he continued to scrub the floor in front of him. Naruto thought for a moment before saying, "You know, you didn't have to be here. I wasn't going to tell on you." Sasuke looked up and said, "Hey, I am not going to let you have all the credit for doing this prank, especially if it targets my fangirls." "I see," was all Naruto could think of to say. "Are you two almost finished cleaning that up?" Iruka called from the front of the class. "Almost, sensei," Naruto shouted. "That's good," he said, sending Naruto an evil glare. Sasuke noticed this, but didn't bother to say anything when Naruto didn't. Finally, after they cleaned up the floor, both of the boys walked up to the front of the class T where Iruka was waiting. They sat on 2 chairs that he had brought for them, and he began with his lecture. It started out with the responsibilities of ninja and what they should do. He then went on explaining on how what they did made them look really immature. By the end of the lecture, Naruto was asleep, and Sasuke had his head in his hand, trying extremely hard not to copy what his friend just did. "Naruto, did you get all of that?" Iruka shouted. Naruto and Sasuke both shot up, and Naruto answered, "What I mean?" "Yeah, I did. Care to summarize what I just explained to you both then?" he asked rudely. "Iruka-sensei, why do you disrespect Naruto?" Sasuke finally asked. Iruka looked over to Sasuke and said, "What do you mean? You and every other villager in this village all hate Naruto, and always glare at him and even try to hurt him sometimes. Why are you all doing it? What did he do?" "Well, Iruka was a little stumped. He was never asked a question like this. He killed? He couldn't tell them about the nine-tailed fox being inside of Naruto, so he said, in his past, he's done some bad things. What did I do to make all of you hate me? Naruto asked. Well, it wasn't exactly you. Iruka froze for a second. Wait, it wasn't Naruto. So why do we all hurt him? He has it sealed in him, but he isn't it. Any answer? Sasuke asked. No. Please, you both can go now. Iruka said, putting his elbows down on a nearby desk to think. Thank you, Iruka-sensei. Both Sasuke and Naruto said as they left. When they both exited the room, Iruka finally said, maybe I have been treating him wrongly. Naruto and Koga's apartment. Within 2 years, Naruto and Koga had managed to fix up the apartment. While doing missions, Koga would put all of his earned money into building the place back to living condition. Finally it was completely finished, and Koga was relaxing on the couch in the living room. Suddenly the doorbell rang, and Koga went to answer it. Hold on, I'm coming. Koga announced when he got up. He still wore his black robe, and his red hair stayed at his shoulders. He also kept sunglasses wherever he went. Below the robe he wore a plain white t-shirt and blue pants. Please hurry, the person outside the door said. Koga went to unlock the door, and was surprised when he saw Itachi there. Itachi, weren't you to go to a secret clan meeting thing? Itachi looked up. In his eyes Koga could read panic. I'm sorry Koga. About what? Koga asked. Suddenly Itachi got a kunai out from his sleeve and shot it towards Koga. Koga grabbed his hand right before it was about to make contact with his skin. Itachi, what the hell do you think you're doing? Koga pushed his friend's hand aside, making his kunai fly across the room. In order to get the next level, I have to kill my best friend. Itachi stated, you're my best friend? In order to stop my clan, I have to kill them all. Itachi, what the hell are you talking about? What happened? By this time Itachi fell to the floor sobbing. My clan is planning to take over Konoha by force. They want to kill the entire Hyuga clan, and then they want to take over the Hokage's position. Koga lifted his friend and led him to the couch. Itachi, tell me what happened in the meeting today. It completely shocked Koga to see his friend break down like this. Something very serious must have happened. Okay, I'll start from the beginning. Itachi sighed and looked up at his friend. In 3 days, my clan is going to take over the Hokage tower. They plan to drug the Hokage, and since most of them are Anbu in the tower at the day, they'll take care of anyone who tries to stop them. We have to warn the Hokage. Koga stated. Wait, I'm not done. My clan will then attack the Hyuga clan. They are smuggling in cloud ninjas as we speak to assist them in taking it over. This is bad, was all Koga could manage to say. My clan's greed and hatred is so powerful that it has blinded them. They have to be stopped before their operation takes place. So, that is why I came here. To get the next level. The next level of what? The Sharingan? Itachi said. In order to get the next level one have to kill my best friend, and apparently, you're my best friend. Hey, thanks, I guess. Koga muttered. Is your whole clan involved in this? No, only my little brother is oblivious to what is going to happen. Itachi said. Itachi, this is serious, we need to go see the Hokage, now. Suddenly both of them heard some loud noises coming from the front door. Ouch, Sasuke, idiot, be quiet. Looks like we have 2 people who now know about your clan's plan. Koga muttered. Hey, Naruto, how much did you and your friend hear? Koga asked. He and Naruto had developed a mental link between their minds that Arashi explained to Koga. Dad, well the whole thing? We saw Itachi walking, so we decided to come and surprise both of you. But then we heard you two talking about that, hey. Sasuke ran into the room. His eyes were glassed over. Itachi, our clan isn't really going to do all of that stuff, right? It was some sick joke you wanted to tell your friend? Am I right? Itachi looked at his little brother with regret and said, I'm so sorry Sasuke. I didn't want you to hear that. Itachi held in his feelings, but Sasuke began to cry. Dad, we need to help Hinata and her family. Naruto shouted. Yes, we do, don't we? Koga agreed. Sasuke, Itachi said to his brother. Remember that question I asked you 2 years ago? This is what I meant when I asked it. Who will you join, me or your dad? Sasuke looked up to his brother, deep in thought. He smirked and said, same answer as last time, you're much better than our dad. Sasuke wiped his tears away. It seems we're the 2 last loyal Uchiha members. It does seem that way, Sasuke. Itachi said as he lifted his brother to his feet. Okay. Sasuke, you and Naruto stay here. Do not go back home, Sasuke. I don't know if father is going to try and bring you to his side or not, but we can't take the chance. I understand, brother, Sasuke said. We're going to warn the Hokage, you two be good, and don't break anything. Koga said as he grabbed Itachi's arm and did a jutsu to transport them both to the Hokage tower. So, what do you want to do, Sasuke? Naruto asked. I want to think about what just happened. Sasuke muttered. Yeah, I guess it is a lot to take in. Naruto said. Hokage tower. Hokage-sama, Koga shouted when he and Itachi teleported into his office. We have some very important information that you need to know. What would that be? The Hokage asked. Allow me to explain. Itachi walked over to the Hokage's desk and began to explain what his clan was planning to do, and how he and Sasuke were the only ones left out of the plan. Finally, after a long explanation, Sarutobi managed to if all of that is true, then your clan is punished by death. I know, Hokage-sama, Itachi said as he bowed down to the man. I do need evidence that all of this is true though. The Hokage muttered. Here is some evidence. Itachi lifted up a scroll. This scroll tells how the Uchiha bloodline can get a secret level to Sharingan that almost no one knew about. They wanted me to get this so I could slaughter the Hyuga when we raided their place with the Cloud Ninjas. This is awful. The Hokage lowered his head. We can't just go attack the Uchiha. The people would not believe in our reasons. The people see the Uchiha clan as heroes who capture any villain in the village. That would mean that they would have to see the clan in the action of treason for them to realize that they are really not all they're cracked up to be. Koga said as he entered the conversation. We also should warn the Hyuga clan, but tell them to keep it quiet. We'll be assisting them with all of our available Junin, Anbu, and high-ranking Chunin. Itachi said. This is horrible. We're going to be destroying one of our best clans in the village. Was all Sarutobi could say. Also, Hokage, do not drink your coffee in 3 days. They're going to poison it so you won't be able to help fight. Koga said. Thanks for the insight, Koga. Muttered the Hokage. Thank you, we'll be leaving. Itachi said as he and Koga puffed out of the room. I'm getting too old for all of this, muttered Sarutobi. Naruto and Koga's apartment. Sasuke, we'll be staying here for a while. Itachi said as he threw a pillow from the closet nearby to Sasuke. Be careful, act like you do not know anything big is going to happen in 3 days. Got it, big brother. The same goes for you too, Naruto. Koga said as he helped get supplies for the new guests. Got it, dad. I just hope that it all goes well. Muttered Itachi as he sighed. Kyuubi Fox Mode speaking. The Ninja Academy. 3 days have passed since Itachi has told the Hokage and his sibling of the betrayal of the Uchiha. 3 days since Sasuke has stayed over with Naruto and Koga in their somewhat small apartment. 3 days. Both of the children had been trying their best not to tell anyone at the academy about the incident that was to take place this day. Today there was a test in the academy. Many were focusing extremely hard, but 2 were very nervous. They couldn't get the events that were going to take place today out of their heads. I cannot take this anymore. Naruto murmured to his friend, who was sitting next to him. I know, just keep quiet. Sasuke snapped back. Okay class, time is up. Iruka announced from the front of the class. Please, turn in your papers now. Multiple groans and cries could be heard as the children slowly walked up to turn in their papers. Iruka looked over everyone, knowing what to expect from each child. What is this? Iruka asked to no one in particular. That is strange. Sasuke never fails. Sensei, can we go now? Sasuke asked impatiently. Oh sure, please be good. Iruka said. Naruto, Sasuke, you two stay for a little bit. What is it, sensei? We have to get going. Sasuke practically screamed. What is on your minds? I have never seen you both so nervous before. Sasuke and Naruto looked at each other and nodded silently. Iruka, if we tell you, can you promise you will not get involved? It depends on what it is. Iruka muttered. Okay sensei, it is like this. Naruto began. Both of the children told Iruka of what was to come pass. They had to tell someone before they exploded and broke down, and they knew Iruka would be the right one to tell it to. Once they were done, Iruka wore a very shocked expression. You mean? Iruka began silently. The Uchiha clan is planning to take over Konoha, with the cloud? Yes sensei. Naruto and Sasuke said. But, why would they do that? Iruka mumbled. Itachi says that they've pretty much gone insane. Sasuke said, looking away. This must be very hard for the boy. Iruka thought. Sasuke, is it only you and Itachi that haven't betrayed the village? Yes, that is right, Sasuke said, looking down. Well, would you like me to take you both out for ramen? Iruka asked. Sure, sensei, Naruto shouted. As they all were going to leave, Iruka stopped Naruto really quickly and allowed Sasuke to travel a little ahead. Naruto, I'm sorry about how I was treating you the other day, can you forgive me? No problem, sensei, Naruto said, being his usual self. Hokage Tower. Here is your coffee, Hokage-sama. The Anbu said as he entered the Hokage's office with some coffee on a tray. Thank you, the Hokage replied. When the Anbu wasn't looking, he quickly dumped it out in a plant next to his desk. I'll be leaving, Hokage-sama, if you need anything, please come and get us. Thank you, I'll see to it if I need you, Sarutobi stated as he smiled. Once the Anbu was gone, the Hokage let go of his fake smile. He reached under his desk and grabbed a small wireless headset. Hokage-sama, have they come in with the coffee yet? A voice went through the set. Yes, they have, I dumped it in my plant nearby here, Itachi. Okay, get ready. The assault should be happening in less than an hour. I'm going to send Koga in right now to go see you in your office. Itachi stated. What will you be doing while the tower is being attacked, Itachi? Sarutobi asked. I'll be heading over to the Hyuga clan house to assist them when the first wave of my clan comes. Okay, Itachi, we'll be with you once we clear out the Hokage tower of the Uchiha betrayers. Sarutobi stated. Got it, Hokage-sama. Make sure you and Koga are safe. Itachi said as he cut the power to the headset. Okay, so when Koga comes in we'll wait until the Uchiha attacks. After that I'll gather what's left of the Anbu and Koga and I will head over to assist the Hyuga clan house. Sarutobi went over his plan several times until he figured nothing was wrong with it. Hyuga clan house. Hinata, you and your 2-year-old sister Hanabi are to go and stay at Naruto's place. Please, get there as fast as possible, I'll send Neji to go with you. Hiyashi stated. He was wearing a black robe with various bits of armor on it. He had only told the higher-ups of the soon-to-come invasion, and planned to get his daughter to safety before the conflict happens. Yes, father, Hinata answered. Go now, Hiyashi ordered. Hinata nodded and left. A figure wearing dark clothing that was hidden in the shadows revealed himself. His Sharingan eyes were activated. He was wearing black clothing, and the Uchiha crest was visible on him. Itachi, you have finally come, Hiyashi stated. Yes, the attack on the Hokage tower is going to happen soon, so I believe you have about 2 hours to prepare for the Cloud and Uchiha invasion. Itachi reported. I see, are you going to be helping us? Hiyashi asked. Yes, I am the strongest member in the Uchiha clan, so I will be here to take out the ones that are invading. Combined with your eyes, we'll be able to hold them off for a while until reinforcements come. Okay, I have all the men and women from both the main and the branch house ready to fight. Let's hope we get out of this with as little casualties as possible. Hiyashi stated. All we can do right now is pray for the best outcome. Itachi murmured. Naruto and Koga's apartment. I'll stay here with you too, to make sure no one comes and tries to harm you. Iruka said as he entered Naruto's apartment. Yes, sensei, they both said. Iruka looked around. The place was pretty tidy, except for a lot of ramen scattered across the countertops in the kitchen portion of the place. It looked as though there was nothing to do but wait. Hey Sasuke, want to play Monopoly? Naruto asked as he entered a closet. Sure, why not? Sasuke stated. Iruka, you want to join? Naruto asked as he emerged with the game. No thank you, I think I'll just watch. Okay, it's your loss, Iruka-sensei. Naruto said as he went and sat on the floor next to his friend. The doorbell suddenly rang, making everyone in the house tense for a moment. There was a light knocking afterwards and a small voice that sounded somewhat like Hinata. Naruto yelled as he went to open the door for his friend. Once the door opened, there were 3 people there. Hinata, Neji, and who's this? Iruka said as he wandered over to the door. There was a small child that Hinata was carrying. Her name is Hanabi, my little sister. Hinata answered. I see, Iruka said as he walked over to them. Iruka took hold of Hanabi and went to sit on the couch. So, why are you 3 here? Father told us to come to Naruto's house for the day, though he wouldn't tell us why. Hinata replied. And I was sent to protect Hinata. Neji said as he walked forward. He had bandages over both of his arms, and hair that reached down to his shoulder. Do you two want to play Monopoly with us? Naruto asked from below all the rest. Why yeah. Hinata stuttered when she sat next to Naruto. Why not, it'll pass the time. Neji answered as he too sat down. Hokage Tower. It will begin any time, Koga stated as he leaned against the wall. Koga, I have one question, why are you helping us? You used to be a demon fox, but now, you seem to be a completely different person. Sarutobi asked. Things change after time, Koga replied. Suddenly an explosion could be heard from the lower levels. Screams of both surprise and pain rose in the air. Koga and Sarutobi both knew the Uchiha were beginning their attack. Okay Hokage-sama. I'll exit first and eliminate any Uchiha I see coming up to kill the council members. You wait here for my signal. Koga stated. Wait, what is the signal? The Hokage asked. You'll find out shortly Hokage-sama. Koga replied right before he left the room. When Koga left the office, he saw no signs of movement. As he slowly advanced to the next floor in the building using the stairs, he could hear some noise coming from above. He pulled out a small smoke bomb, but unlike others, the smoke was colored blue. I hope he realizes this is the signal. Koga thought silently before he threw the bomb behind him. Afterwards he advanced back up the stairs. When Koga finally made it to the council room, he could make out quite a few Anbu fighting off the Uchiha betrayers, and in the middle of the room, some Uchiha members were tying up the council members. Looks like they could use some help. Koga muttered, Hey Arashi, I'm going to be borrowing some of my old power. Arashi was silent for a moment before saying, Do as you wish. As if on cue, red chakra emitted from Koga as he entered the room. All the Uchiha ex-Anbu members there were drawn to look at the power source. Koga made chakra form at his hands where it formed the shape of claws. He charged in the room, startling the Uchiha members. When he sliced clean through his first victim, Koga felt slightly disappointed that he was no challenge at all. Shortly after one of their comrades dying, the Uchiha got out of their petrified state and began to attack. That is more like it. Koga muttered. With their Sharingan eyes activated, the Uchiha jumped towards Koga. You are going to regret coming into this room. An Uchiha member screamed as he came at Koga wielding a sword. The sword was broken instantly as it met the red chakra claw of Koga, and thus the man also lost his arm along with his blade. Impossible, I couldn't read his movement. He shouted as he fell to the ground in pain. Hey, I'm not the greatest demon there is for nothing. When he said this, red chakra began to swirl around him, making him even more imitating than before. What do you mean by that? One of them asked. You'll just have to find out. Koga yelled as he began his assault on the rest of the clan in the room. He tried his best to spare as many as possible, but those who insisted, meaning those that continued to get up and attack, were the ones that mostly died, which sadly, was most of them. I've got you now. A man shouted as he aimed his kick for Koga's back. Koga noticed immediately and dropped to the ground, and at the last moment raised his claw up to intercept the guy as he flew past him, slicing clean through him. After a few minutes, Sarutobi came in the room. Koga looked at him and asked, What took you so long? I'm sorry, but when you threw the bomb, it took me some time to realize that it was the signal. Sarutobi said apologetically. I see. Well, I haven't taken out all the Uchiha here yet if you want to get into battle with me. Koga said. Sarutobi glared at Koga before saying, Those of you that want to live, stop fighting now, and you will be put into a prison. Those that continue to fight though, your fate will be death. After this announcement, the few Uchiha that were still standing immediately surrendered themselves. They knew a loss when it came, and weren't willing to die for nothing. At least the Hyuga will be out of this village now. One Uchiha snarled. Actually, we're very prepared for that, and have already sent half of Konoha's ninja forces to go over and aid them. The Hokage said. He smiled at the look of surprise from the Uchiha member. Sarutobi and Koga went and quickly untied the council members, and went to check on the Anbu members that weren't part of the Uchiha clan. Once they got everyone patched up, Koga and Sarutobi went to talk with the council. The elderly woman of the two council members that were there looked down. It's a shame that one of our most powerful clans has gone insane like this. It is a shame indeed, but we must take them down, to prove to the other nations that we do not hesitate to possibly destroy a clan when it tries to make a point. Sarutobi stated. Yes, this was necessary, but at least 2 of them have not betrayed us, so in due time the clan will be back up on its feet. Koga said. You too. The Hokage said, meaning the 2 council members, stay here and watch over the tower as I and Koga here with the rest of the Anbu that can still fight head over to assist the Hyuga. Hyuga clan house. It appears that they are coming now. Itachi stated as he and Hiashi stood on the roof of the clan house. In the distance, multiple ninjas could be seen jumping towards the place. All of them had kunai and other various blades out. Everyone is hidden, correct? Hiashi asked. The Cloud Ninja in the distance began to put explosive notes on the handle of their kunai, ready to bombard the unprepared Hyuga family. The Cloud Ninja had a huge grin on their face, happy that they'll finally get the eyes of the Hyuga, and the Uchiha were smiling because they would rid their rival. Yes, everyone is in place for the attack, Itachi answered. The ninjas that were once a distance away were within throwing distance of the Hyuga clan building, so they all bent their arms back and let loose the projectiles that were aimed directly at the place. That is good. We begin our counterattack in 5. Hiashi began. The kunai with the explosive tags began to hit the building, destroying all the glass and quickly destroying the walls as well. 4. The Cloud and Uchiha ninjas charged in through the front gate, expecting just as much from the Hyugas. 3. The enemy ninjas entered the house now, expecting to find the clan so they could be slaughtered. 2. The enemy, now slightly confused, searched through the house, but could not find anyone. 1. Counter-attack, start now. Hiashi shouted. Multiple explosions could be heard from within the Hyuga clan house. They were all triggered from the Hyugas who were all hidden very well within the scenery using very powerful genjutsu. Once the screaming and explosions from within the house died down, the Hyugas all charged in to finish off the first wave of their enemy. That went much better than expected. Itachi stated. Yeah, it did. Hiashi murmured. They both looked up from their position on the roof of the now almost destroyed building, and they could see another wave of ninjas, this one mostly consisting of the Cloud. Looks like we'll be entering the fray now. Itachi muttered as he activated his Sharingan. Indeed, Hiashi stated as he activated his Byakugan. Once the second wave came upon the Hyuga building, Itachi and Hiashi both jumped down from their positions and began to fight. The Cloud here were obviously Chunin. Such a pity to waste such weak ninjas on a more powerful foe. It appears the Cloud and Uchiha weren't expecting the Hyuga to have enough time to react. How did they know this was to happen? We were told that they wouldn't have enough time to react. A Cloud ninja yelled as he barely dodged a kunai that was thrown at him. I don't know. Everyone in our clan meeting was perfectly fine with this plan. Wait, an Uchiha member began. His Sharingan eyes widened with realization, and he said, Itachi has betrayed us. That is correct. Itachi shouted as he landed right in front of his clan member and stabbed him with a kunai. The man sputtered out blood and said, Itachi, you, bitch. Itachi then sliced his throat, not wanting to hear any more. Hakesho Kaden, Hiashi shouted as he spun around, knocking the enemy Cloud ninjas around him into various objects. When Hiashi stopped, he immediately went to assist Itachi. When is the last wave coming to help? A Cloud ninja shouted as a kunai stabbed him in the leg. Not too long. At least that wave is the largest. No matter what, this little bit of resistance won't be able to withstand them. An Uchiha member answered as he stabbed a Hyuga in the chest with his kunai. As if on cue, the last wave of enemy ninjas, consisting of basically the rest of the Uchiha clan, and about roughly 2 times more Cloud ninjas. As the wave approached, the people in the second wave began to cheer. They needed assistance badly. Itachi looked up and cursed as he brought his fist back from the man's face it was currently intact with. I hope Koga and the Hokage get here with reinforcements soon. With the second and third wave in the fray, the Hyugas were being beaten back. Flames rose into the sky as if to say that today was the day that the Hyuga clan would die. Itachi stopped dead in his tracks as he heard a familiar voice coming from behind him. I am disappointed in you, Itachi. You had so much potential, yet you wasted it in being loyal to this pathetic village. Father, Itachi muttered as he turned around to face the man. If you think you're good enough to betray our clan, then prove it by killing me. Itachi's father suddenly charged with his Sharingan eye activated at Itachi. Father, please back down from this nonsense now. Itachi screamed as he pushed back every punch his father threw at him. And continue letting the Hokage lead this village to its doom? He questioned. The Hokage is doing what is right for the village. If you think being a proper Hokage is smuggling in cloud ninjas and trying to eliminate one clan because you're jealous is right, then your views are worse than I first thought. Itachi threw a punch at his father, who quickly caught it. I will take over this village. And once I do, you'll be begging to join me. Itachi was disgusted by his father's behavior. Never before has he acted like this. I am not going to hold back. He brought back his fist and jumped back a few yards and shouted, Kaden. Gukaryu no Jutsu. After a short series of hand signs, he blew a huge fireball out of his mouth, and ignited his father on fire, or he thought. His father jumped right out of the flame before it ate him. He did a few hand signs himself before shouting, Kaden. Housenka no Jutsu. He shot multiple fireballs down at his son, who evaded them all. When he landed on the ground, Itachi charged at him and attempted to hit him hard in the gut, but he caught the hand just in time and pushed it away, allowing him to kick Itachi right in the face. When Itachi was dazed by the kick, he quickly landed a punch right in his gut, making him fly back several yards. Damn, how did you get so powerful? Itachi wondered out loud as he got back up, a little blood seeping out of his mouth. Hey, unlike you, I was able to get the next level of the Sharingan, the Mangekyo Sharingan. He lifted his head up, and Itachi looked right into his eyes. The world was now black and white. Itachi looked around. What is going on? As if on cue to his thoughts, he suddenly flew into a tree, where strings attached him to it tightly. He looked around, and there was still nothing to see. For the next 72 hours, you will be stabbed with this katana over and over and over again. Itachi's father had a sadistic glint in his eyes as he proceeded to stab his son over and over. Each time to Itachi it felt as though the pain got worse after each stab. After what seemed like 3 days, Itachi returned to reality, as if only a second had passed. His father stood upon him, gasping for air. He had not known how much chakra that ability apparently ate up. He deactivated his Sharingan eyes so he could keep the little bit of chakra he had left. Goodbye Itachi, he shouted as he grabbed a kunai out from his kunai pouch. He aimed it down at his son, who was still in a shocked state. Before the blade could reach Itachi's flesh, another kunai flew and deflected it, and along with the kunai, Koga came by his friend. What did you do to him? He commanded for an answer. Oh, he just was stabbed over and over again in his mind. He should really prepare more for such encounters. Itachi's father stated. What do you mean? Koga asked as extended out his red chakra to make claws on his hand once again. Look into my eyes to see exactly what I mean, he said sadistically. Koga did just that, and entered the black and white world that Itachi was in just moments before. What the fuck did you just do? Koga shouted into the void that he was now in. For the next 48 hours, you will be stabbed over and over with this katana. The man stated. Don't you need to tie me up or something? Koga asked casually, as if nothing was happening at the present moment. Suddenly a log spurted from the ground, and strings attached him to it tightly. Are you ready? The man asked as he pulled his hand back, ready to thrust the katana in the man. I am, but the question is, are you? Koga asked, as his red eyes seemed to grow fiercer. The man didn't bother to answer, and was about to stab Koga, but suddenly a huge amount of red chakra emitted from his body and defended him from the blade. What is this? He asked in disbelief. You should know that you shouldn't use abilities like this on people who are much stronger than you mentally. Koga said, smirking. But, you're not stronger than me, the man said as he tried to stab Koga again. Oh, but I am. Koga said. He began to grow fangs, and his hair became wilder looking. Wah, what are you? Itachi's father shouted as he landed on the ground, filled with fear. I am a demon, one that you'll regret messing with for the rest of your life. Koga said as his form shifted once more. He advanced on the man who was now petrified with fear. Koga turned into a 9-tailed fox and asked, do you know who I am yet? Kyubi. The man stuttered. He didn't have enough time to even run as the black and white void began to turn a blood red, and a man's screaming could be heard. Back in reality, Itachi leaned against a tree and watched in terror as his father's figure curled up and screamed in agony. Had his Sharingan backfired on him? He questioned himself. What a weak mind he had. Koga muttered as he slowly got up. What happened to him? Itachi asked in amazement. Koga smiled slightly and said, you should never use those kind of abilities on people who are much stronger than you mentally. Just how strong are you mentally? Itachi asked. Let's just say I have had many years to practice. Koga smirked as he helped his friend up. It looks like the battle is clearing up. You're lucky the Hokage and I came with the reinforcements. It looked as though you guys were holding your own pretty well though. It went well in the beginning. We wiped out their first wave easily, and then their second wave was a little larger, then is when Hiashi and I entered the battle. When the third wave came though, we were only about halfway done with dealing with the second wave, and considering the third wave was much larger than the second, I'm surprised we held as long as we managed. Itachi reported to Koga. Not bad. If the Hyugas were completely unprepared for this assault though, I would have to say that there would be no more Hyuga clan. Itachi agreed to that. The two walked over the battlefield that was once the glorious home of the Hyugas. Everywhere, there was once a beautiful thing there, but it now lay shattered on the ground. The two walked over the corpse of fallen enemies, and sometimes over their own allies, though the allied losses was much lower than previously expected. Finally the two made it to the Hokage who was talking with Hiashi. Hokage-sama, we've killed the leader of the Uchiha clan. Itachi reported. Very good Itachi. The Hokage said. We are putting the clan members that lived in a high-security prison on the outskirts of our village. They deserve death for treason of this level, but I do not feel like executing them all. I understand Hokage-sama, Itachi responded. Itachi, with only you and your brother as the last two clan members loyal to Konoha. I believe it was you who was the heir to the Uchiha head position. The Hokage said. Yes, I am, though I don't have much of a clan to lead. Itachi muttered sadly. Don't feel sad Itachi, if you play your cards right, you and your brother can get a good start of restoring the clan. Koga said, nudging his friend with his elbow. Yeah. Well Hokage-sama, with this fight over, I am going to return with Koga here to his place. Itachi, please do well for your clan. The Hokage shouted before Itachi ran off. I am the leader of the fallen clan, and my younger brother is the heir. We will make the Uchiha clan live on in the history of this village, you can count on that. Itachi shouted behind him to the Hokage. Now that there was only the Hokage and Hiashi left, the Hokage turned to Hiashi. How much damage was done? Hiashi sighed and said, Hokage-sama, they destroyed the whole front yard of the clan house, and not to mention they bombed the building in the beginning, and to destroy the first wave faster, we ended up bombing our own home. That isn't even including the clan members that died in this conflict. The Hokage sighed and said, I see, I will see to it that our funds that were originally going to the Uchiha clan will be used to assist you in repairing all the damage that was done. I am sure Itachi will understand. I hope nothing like this ever happens again. Hiashi sighed. Hey Hiashi. Someone called out. Hiashi turned around and saw his twin brother. Hisashi. Hiashi shouted as they engaged in a hug. I am so glad you made it brother. Hisashi said. Hiashi just nodded in agreement, while the Hokage smiled at the sight. At least not all was lost. Sarutobi thought as he looked at the brothers. Koga and Naruto's apartment. I'm running low on cash. Naruto mumbled. I hope I get a 6. Neji prayed as he rolled the dice. When he got a 6 he cheered and moved his piece 6 places, and bought the hot springs, so that anyone who rolled on that square, they would have to pay him 5,000 yen in order to keep playing. Hinata grabbed the dice and muttered, please get a 2. It was the only possible way for her to go. She wasn't in the best situation since she kept loaning Naruto her money when he was about to lose, so in order for her to get past this she would have to get on the roll again space, and then roll a 5 or higher. Oh, too bad Hinata, pay me 4,000 yen. Sasuke said as he held out his hand. Hinata sighed and handed him the money. Suddenly a knock on the door interrupted their play. Iruka, who was holding Hanabi, quickly handed her to Hinata. He then grabbed a kunai and inched towards the door. Dad? Is that you? Naruto asked with his mental link. Yes, now please unlock the door. Koga answered. Iruka, it is all right, it is just Dad and Itachi. Sasuke's ears noticeably perked up after hearing his brother's name, and he jerked his head to the now opening door. Hi kids, how are you doing? Koga asked as he entered the house. Itachi entered behind him and waved. Numerous fines and alrights came from the children, and Iruka waved and said, I am glad to see you both back alright. Koga raised an eyebrow. Naruto, did you and Sasuke tell your teacher about the attack? Well you see, we were doing really lousy in class and he was all like. Cut the crap Naruto, just yes or no. Koga asked a little angrily. Yeah, Naruto muttered. Hinata, Neji, your fathers will be coming to pick you up shortly. They will explain why you came here when you're leaving. Itachi stated as he walked over and relaxed on the couch. Hiyashi and Hizashi both showed up literally minutes later to pick their children up. They both thanked Naruto and Sasuke for the company, and left. Now with those two gone, they could begin to talk about the fate of the Uchiha clan and the battle. Itachi, what happened to the clan? Sasuke immediately asked when the door shut. Itachi sighed and began to say, Father is dead. I don't know the fate of our mother, or the rest of the clan. I am the new clan leader, and you're the heir. Itachi summarized. Sasuke had tears falling from his face now. Why did they do this? He asked. They were blinded fools. I am sorry, we can take this together though. Itachi said as he hugged his younger brother, who didn't move away from the contact. How are we going to keep the clan going if it's just the two of us? Sasuke asked through his tears. Well, it is now up to us to restore the clan to its once glorious state. And you know how the only way to do that is, right? Itachi asked. He nearly burst out laughing when he saw all the color come out of Sasuke's face at that moment. Anyways, Koga said, coughing to get everyone's attention, you both can stay here for the time being, since it can get pretty lonely being in such a large sector alone. Wait, Iruka shouted, is our alliance with the cloud still intact? I hope so, Iruka. Koga sighed. They have yet to give us any word if it was their cage who allowed it or the corruption of their people. I hope it's the latter. Iruka stated. I think we all do, Iruka. Itachi said. After a little more conversation, Iruka left the apartment saying bye to both Naruto and Sasuke. Once Naruto and Sasuke both were fast asleep, Itachi left the room and went out for a little midnight walk. Unknown to him, a figure was following him. Itachi. The person called out. Itachi turned around to see only his best friend. Koga, what are you doing out here? I should be asking you the same thing. Koga murmured. Itachi sighed, well, it's just that. Itachi could feel some tears reaching the rim of his eyes. I wish that I could change the past. Many of us do, Itachi. Koga stated as he came alongside his friend. Yes, but what brought forth the corruption of my clan? What made them so greedy and blind them from peace? Itachi asked. It is hard to tell. And now I'm the head of a memberless clan, unless if you count my little brother, but he is basically the heir, the next head to our clan. I hope I can restore our clan to its former glory so it will not disappear from the history of Konoha. I don't want our clan to go down without restoring its honor. I understand, Itachi. Koga put his hand on his friend's side. You just have to take things down as they come. There is nothing you can do right now about the future but prepare yourself. Soon, your clan will be back on its feet. After saying that, Koga began to walk back to the apartment. Hey Koga, Itachi called out. What is it, Itachi? Koga called back. Thanks, was his one-word reply. Koga simply smiled and continued to walk back to his home, knowing Itachi was to follow behind him soon enough. Koga speaking in fox mode. 4 years later, things have settled down since the Uchiha betrayal. The Hyuga had minimum losses, and were able to get back on their feet in no time. Itachi's fan clubs have practically disappeared, and the name Uchiha would stir up hateful memories in the villagers. They no longer looked at Itachi as a hero, but more as a villain for still being allowed to wander in the village. It went for his younger brother as well. With people acting like this towards them, Itachi and Sasuke were booted out of many shops when they entered. They never had to be forced to leave. All of this began to get to Sasuke though. He began to grow a hatred for the village. Itachi saw this and tried to keep his hate from getting the better of him. Itachi and Sasuke both stayed at Koga and Naruto's place most of the time because it was nice to company around. Naruto and Sasuke were practically brothers now, and almost nothing could take them apart. Until a certain event happened. Training ground, on the outskirts of the village. He's 10 years old now, I'm sure he can handle the truth. Arashi said. Hey, he is too young. I should wait until he is 18 for him to hear about me being a demon sealed inside of him. Koga argued. At that point he'll be even angrier that you didn't tell him. No, Naruto can handle it when he is older. His young mind will be corrupted if he finds out now. Koga muttered. Corrupted with what? He's known you since he was 4. I am sure he loves you like any son to his father. Arashi told Koga. Just no. Koga finished the conversation lamely. Koga, do this. You'll regret it later. Arashi warned. Koga was silent for a few moments before finally he muttered, "Okay. I'll tell him when he gets here." Koga found himself on a log where he sat to have the emergency conversation with Arashi. He got up and headed towards the forest surrounding him and grabbed the only food that was available to him, some berries in a bush. Though he wasn't a huge fan of the fruit, he would mind eating it to fill his stomach. "I seriously hate this crap," Koga muttered. Suddenly he heard rustle of leaves nearby. He turned around and found a small glint of orange, and the first thought that ran through his mind was, Naruto. "Naruto, if you're trying to get me, you better wear less bright clothing," Koga muttered. A small burst of orange charged at him. Koga sighed and sidestepped and put his hand out, where he caught Naruto. "Ah, Dad, will I ever be able to get you?" Naruto pouted. "Hey, with the many years of experience I have, I would say, not likely," Koga said while smiling. "I'll see about that," Naruto shouted. "So, what are we going to be doing today?" "How much weight are you wearing right now?" Koga asked. "I think about 100 pounds right now," Naruto answered. "Wow, that's all? I figured you could carry at least 200 by this time," Koga muttered. "No matter, today I'm going to see how well you can control your chakra." "How are we going to do that?" Naruto asked. "You're simply going to climb this tree," Koga said as he pointed to a large tree next to him. "That's it?" Naruto asked, clearly not impressed. "You're going to climb it, without the use of your hands," Koga explained. "First, you have to focus chakra down to your feet. It has to be a precise amount. If it is too high or too low you won't be able to stay on the tree. Allow me to show you how it is done." Koga focused for a little bit before he walked towards the tree. When he was at the base he planted one foot firmly on the bottom of the tree, and began to climb up. Naruto was in awe the entire time. "Any questions?" Koga asked when he reached the top. Naruto shouted, "I'm ready." He charged at the tree he was currently at and tried to climb, but got no more than 2 feet before he fell on the back of his head. "Ouch, that hurt?" "Naruto, you have to concentrate," Koga shouted. I know," Naruto shouted up as he tried to focus again. Naruto looked up and ran at the tree again. He got 3 steps before one of his feet seemed to make the tree explode, making him fly off. "Naruto, that is too much chakra, put a little less into it next time," Koga instructed. The lesson went on for a few hours. The same routine happened. Naruto would get few feet up, and suddenly fall, then his father would tell him what he was doing wrong. After exactly 4 hours, Naruto managed to reach the first branch, which was only 7 feet from the ground. "Naruto, that is enough, you're going to get exhausted," Koga muttered as he jumped down to the branch his child was currently resting on. "That's all?" Naruto said. "Yeah, training is going to be cut short today because I have something very important that I must tell you," Koga muttered as he looked away from Naruto. "What is it, Dad?" Naruto asked. "It's about me, and you." Koga began to fumble with the words. "What?" Naruto asked. "Well, you see, you remember 10 years ago when Kyuubi was killed?" Koga began. "Yes, we went over it a little while ago in the academy," Naruto answered. Koga began to get more nervous now. "Well, Naruto, he was not killed that night. He was sealed inside a baby. That baby, Naruto, was you." Naruto's first reaction was confusion, but that suddenly turned to shock, which suddenly turned to a look of understanding to one of hatred. "You mean, the reason the villagers hate me is because Kyuubi was sealed inside of me?" Naruto whispered. "Yes, Naruto," Koga muttered looking away. "Why are you telling this to me?" Naruto asked as he looked up to his father. Koga prepared himself mentally and physically for the truth. He took off his sunglasses, and his red eyes beamed into his son's, and with little to no emotion he said, "Naruto, I am Kyuubi." Naruto was shocked. He looked at his father, or was it demon? Naruto shook high head, and tears filled to the rim of his eyes. He refused to cry in front of his father. No, it was a demon, not his father. Naruto couldn't stand the emotions that swirled in his head at the moment, so he did the first thing that came to mind. He ran off. Koga looked down with depressed eyes. He knew the child was going to run off and scream that he was a monster. Well, get rid of screaming part and add crying. That could have gone better. Now my son hates me. Surprisingly, this hurt Koga more than being stabbed by another demon. He'll come back. Once he figures out all the good you've done for him, he won't stay away from you," Arashi said, assuring him in his mind. Suddenly a bush to his right shook violently, and 4 figures dropped out. Two of them Koga immediately recognized as Sasuke and Itachi. The other two ladies he was not so familiar with. "Can I help you for?" he asked. The three children, meaning Sasuke, the one with pink hair, and the one with blonde hair wearing a purple dress, looked at the person in front of them with fear. "Koga, is it true that you're really Kyuubi?" Sasuke finally asked, breaking the tense silence. Koga smiled sadly. "Yep, that's me." Before Koga knew it, all three of the children ran away from him, fearing him, thinking he'll go kill them all. There was only Itachi, who showed surprisingly little surprise on his face. He walked over to his friend and said, "I always knew there was something about you and that child. I suppose the child you're referring to is Naruto." Koga muttered miserably. "Yep," Itachi said. "So, are you going to run away like the children? Or are you going to hate me and stay away from me for the rest of your life?" Koga asked. "I could really care less if you're Kyuubi or not. You showed that you're loyal to Out Village, and saved me on multiple occasions. I have no reason to fear you," Itachi said. Koga smiled, saying, "You're a true friend, Itachi." Koga wondered for a second before saying, "So, why were you here?" "Sasuke and I wanted to train, but then those two girls found Sasuke, and apparently they're two of the few girls that still like Sasuke after the Uchiha betrayal." Koga nodded along until he asked, "How much of the conversation did the children hear?" Itachi had a look of grim realization on his face as he said, "Pretty much the whole thing." "Shit, we have to go get them before they spread the news that Naruto is the demon container of me." Koga yelled to his friend, who nodded and disappeared. "I can worry about Naruto later. I have to ensure his secret is safe first." Koga thought as he too went away from the training grounds. Market District. Sakura and Ino both ran as far from the demon as they could. They were separated from Sasuke after a little while, but for the first time it didn't really bother them. They had just witnessed a person saying that Naruto had a demon sealed inside of him. Sakura knew better than to gossip about such a topic, but Ino was another story. "We shouldn't tell a secret like that to other people," Sakura yelled at her ex-friend. "Why not, forehead girl?" Ino said, beginning the challenge. "Because, we were told that Kyuubi died by the fourth Hokage, not the fourth Hokage sealed it inside a child." Sakura tried to elaborate for her friend. "But this is blackmail-worthy material," Ino complained. "It is, but..." Sakura thought for a moment, and figured out something. "You're right, it is. I know, we can make him do anything we want if we keep this a secret." Ino cheered. Sakura nodded and said, "Besides, it is not like a demon has feelings, right?" Suddenly a dark figure appeared behind both of them. "You girls aren't going to do that though, right?" it asked kindly. No," Ino and Sakura both said, fear claiming them. "That is good." The figure stood up, and the shadows around him seemed to vanish, revealing Itachi. "Also ladies," he began again, "if you ever refer to Naruto as a demon, you will regret it." "Why yes, Itachi." They both stammered as they ran away. Itachi looked up and sighed. "I hope they don't spread any rumors." Koga suddenly appeared next to Itachi. "Have you told them not to tell yet?" he asked. "Yes, they won't be telling anyone anytime soon," Itachi muttered. Koga nodded and said, "I'll be going to find Naruto. I trust you to be able to tell your brother the same thing?" Koga asked. "Yes, I'll tell my brother." Itachi vanished once again, leaving only Koga. "I wonder where that Naruto is." In the park, Naruto sat on a bench sobbing. The only one he had known was Kyuubi, and furthermore it was his father's fault that he was hated within the village. As much as he thought of things to hate his father for, he could never feel hatred, which only made him confused, which brought him to tears. "I don't know what to do," he sobbed. Suddenly a person came to existence in front of him and kneeled down and said, "Naruto? I am sorry, but I figured you were ready to handle the truth." Koga muttered. Naruto looked up to his father, and hugged him. "I am sorry, I tried to hate you, but you're my dad." Naruto sobbed. "Who said I wanted you to hate me?" Koga asked as he brought his son into his embrace. Naruto stayed silent, just staying within his father's embrace until he finally broke it and said, "So, my dad is a demon lord?" Koga smiled and said, "More like, ex-demon lord." Koga muttered, "I am glad he understands." Koga thought happily. "So, what is for dinner tonight?" Naruto asked. "I am not sure, what do you want?" Koga asked. "Ramen," Naruto shouted, earning him an annoyed look from Koga. "Why did I even bother to ask?" Koga muttered as he wandered deeper into the town with his son in tow. Sasuke and Itachi's home. Sasuke and Itachi, when not at Naruto and Koga's apartment, were staying at their clan house. Though it was very large, it did give them their personal space, if not more. And at this time, what Sasuke wanted more than anything was to think. Think about his friend who he had come to consider brother. Sasuke. Someone interrupted Sasuke from his thoughts. What is it, Itachi? Sasuke asked. Do you think any less of Naruto now that you know his secret? Itachi asked. Sasuke looked away. Did he think less of Naruto? He wasn't sure. I don't know, brother. Every time I think about him I think about the demon, and then that messes up my image of him. Sasuke explained. Sasuke, promise me that you will not spread the truth about Naruto around at the academy. Itachi said suddenly. Sasuke was again quiet for a minute before saying, yeah, I'm not low enough to spread his secret around. That is good, Sasuke, though, you won't be seeing Naruto for a little while. Itachi said. I have sent the Hokage a letter containing information of what was spilled today about a half hour after the incident. I have asked if Koga and Naruto be sent in and out of the village mission so that you and those two lovely girls can forget about his small secret. Itachi, do you think their secret is small? Sasuke screamed. Itachi sighed and said, I was exaggerating, besides, think less of it, try to forget it. Itachi muttered. I will try, Itachi. Sasuke muttered. That is good, Sasuke. Itachi commented as he left the room to leave Sasuke alone to think the situation through a little bit. Sasuke looked at the clock on the wall in his room and sighed. He got up and ran out of the building as fast as he could. Itachi simply watched. A small grin formed on his face. Hokage Tower. Naruto was pouting. The Hokage had pulled both him and his father from eating all of their ramen for an emergency meeting, and the Hokage was extremely angry at Koga for telling Naruto his secret. Though, he calmed down after a few minutes, understanding Koga's reasoning. So, Itachi sent me a note, telling me it would be wise for you and your son to travel outside of the village for a little while. The Hokage said as he fetched the note Itachi wrote him. I see. Koga muttered. Well, I guess it would be a good idea. We're going out of the village? To where? Naruto shouted with glee. Well, if you accept, you'll be traveling to the Sand Village in the Wind Country, where you'll be negotiating about some diplomatic issues with some of my personal staff. The Hokage gestured to the door. When it opened, a woman that seemed to be only in her early 20s walked in. She had long brown hair reaching down to her shoulders and sky-blue eyes, much like Naruto. Are these the people that will be traveling with me, Hokage-sama? She asked. Her clothing was quite normal. It looked like a green dress, much like Sakura's, and underneath she wore a white shirt and some shorts. Yes, Ayumi. This here is Koga, he said, pointing to the one wearing the black robe. And this is his son, Naruto. The Hokage muttered, pointing over to Naruto. I am glad to travel with you both, Ayumi said as she bowed down to her two companions. Koga looked to the Hokage and asked, when are we leaving? You're going to be going in about 30 minutes. So quickly pack up your things and get going. The Hokage yelled at them. The exit of Konoha. Koga, Naruto, and Ayumi all stood, prepared to leave. Right before they left though, Sasuke came running to them. Naruto, he shouted when he finally reached them. Good luck while you're gone, and, you're still my friend regardless if you have a demon sealed inside of you. Thank you, Sasuke, Naruto said as he hugged his best friend. Sasuke smacked his friend on the head and said, you have to leave now, no time for long goodbyes. He shouted, oh yeah, that's right. Naruto muttered nervously, laughing. Good luck, Sasuke said as the three walked out of the village. You too, Sasuke, Naruto shouted back. In the front of the group, Koga was going over the mission. He and Naruto, though Naruto couldn't really get involved, were to be her bodyguard for any unlikely attempt on her life. Koga sighed at this. He was really hoping for some action. So, we do basically nothing? Koga summarized. Yeah, unless we get attacked, Ayumi said. This is going to be boring. Koga whined. Ayumi nodded at him and continued to walk on. Come on, you two. I want to get there at least in 3 days. I may not look it, but I can do a lot of the stuff you ninjas can do. She suddenly began to jump from tree to tree towards their destination. Come on, Naruto. Think of this as your training, Koga shouted as he chased after the girl. Naruto came along after making sure all his ramen in his bag was in order. He couldn't afford to lose any right now. Once he was sure, he hurried to catch up to the ones already way ahead of him. Kyuubi speaking in fox mode. Miles outside of Konoha. Ayumi, are we there yet? Naruto wailed for the 100th time. Ayumi looked as though she was about to explode as she yelled, Naruto, we just left the village like what? An hour ago? My god, this is going to be a 3-day trip at most, so keep your freaking mouth shut. Naruto was effectively out of wailing mode after her outburst, and he just followed behind her with his father. After a few more hours, he and his father decided to play a game. I spy with my little eye, something that is green, Naruto shouted. Could it be the leaves? Koga asked. How did you know? Naruto asked as though his father answered the hardest question in the world. We're traveling at incredible speeds through a forest, where practically everything we see is green because of the speed we're going. If we were to slow down though, we may be able to get a serious game going. Koga explained. Naruto sighed and muttered, so, anything else we can do? Ayumi suddenly appeared besides Koga and said, hurry up you two. You're slowing this down. Both boys nodded and sped up slightly so that they were only a few feet behind Ayumi. Koga decided to start something up, so, Ayumi, what are you going to talk to Suna about? Nothing that concerns you, was her answer. Koga's eyebrow twitched violently. My god, she is one evil woman. How long will we be there for? Naruto asked. Probably for a week at most. Ayumi responded. You might meet a few new kids there, so be happy. She assured him, throwing a quick smile at him. Well, at least she doesn't see Naruto as me. Koga mentally thought happily. Hey Naruto, let's play I Spy again, I'm getting bored. Okay dad, Naruto shouted happily. No talking, I just want peace and quiet. Ayumi shouted. Both the boys sighed again, and decided to use their mental link. So Koga, I spy with my little eye, something that is. Naruto paused for a little bit before saying, green. This is going to be a long day. Koga whined to himself. After the three had traveled a good distance from Konoha, they decided to set up camp for the night. Ayumi grabbed the sleeping bag on her back and began to set it up while Koga and Naruto began to cook some of the ramen that Naruto bought. I'm starving, Naruto muttered as he tried to light the fire. Move aside Naruto, Koga said. He quickly made a hand sign, and a flame came to life in his hand. He quickly lit the fire to both Naruto and his delight. Do you guys have enough for me? Ayumi asked as she moved over to the fire. Yeah, Naruto usually brings well over the normal amount of ramen any man would bring. Koga explained to her. Yeah, Naruto exclaimed, I think I have enough for the return trip also. I see, Ayumi muttered. The three of them sat together and began to eat their ramen together. It was really quiet until Naruto began some conversation. He looked over to Ayumi and asked, so, are me and my dad really going to have to protect you from someone in Suna? Probably not. She looked at his confused expression and elaborated saying, you were to come because a few kids found out your secret, so while you are here, the Anbu will probably use some genjutsu on them to make them forget about it. Naruto noticeably twitched when she said, your secret, and could feel his anger at the village rising within him. Koga noticed them and mentally told him, calm down Naruto. How dad? I just realized that the village hated me for something that was completely out of my control. They nearly killed me because of it. Naruto would have continued ranting but his father cut him off. I know Naruto. I was with you the whole time. That was partly a lie. Koga had learned Naruto's past by looking at his memories of the past. None of them were very pleasant however. Hey dad, thank you for adopting me. Naruto muttered. Why do you say that now? Koga asked. Because, even if you're the evil demon fox that attacked so many years ago, you're different now. You allowed me to have friends, and you even saved some people's lives. For all of that, I thank you. Naruto said, tears threatened to well up in his eyes. Naruto, it is the duty of a father to his son, nothing more. Koga said with a hint of a smile. Ayumi noticed their expressions changing as if they were having a conversation, and when Naruto looked like he was going to cry she finally asked, what the hell are you guys doing? What? Koga looked over to Ayumi before realizing that she could not hear their mental conversation. Well, Naruto and I have a bond where we can communicate within our minds, so we were just chatting. We didn't want to disturb you or anything. He quickly explained. Well, I'd rather you talk out loud. I find it more disturbing that you guys keep changing expression without me figuring out what is going on, than when you chat out loud, so I know why you have those expressions. She explained. Koga sighed and dismissed the entire situation by saying, whatever. After the trio finished eating, Koga and Naruto unpacked their sleeping bags and the three slept for the night. Nothing out of the ordinary happened. The next day, the first of the three to wake up was Koga, when he realized his two traveling companions were asleep, and by judging the time by pointing out where the sun was in the sky, he figured that he had about an hour before the sunlight would wake them up. "I guess I should go back to sleep," he muttered. He went back into his sleeping bag but was not in the mood to sleep at all, so he decided to stay up and prepare breakfast for his companions. "So, what do we have?" He searched Naruto's bag and only found ramen, and he hadn't brought any food. "I wonder if Ayumi has anything with her." He snuck over to her bag and opened it. He sighed when he found no weapons, but only little trinkets and various other things. "I guess that means we're having ramen," he said with a sarcastic cheer. He began the fire like he had the previous day, and just sat there until he counted up the last few minutes his team would sleep. He cooked tea just in time for them to wake up by the sunlight hitting their face. "What time is it?" Ayumi muttered as she crawled out of her sleeping bag. "Not sure, but we should be heading out soon," Koga answered. "By the way, I cooked you some ramen, so eat up so we can leave right away." When Naruto heard the word ramen, he shot out of his sleeping bag and quickly began to eat it. "Thank you, Dad," he said in between mouthfuls. Once they finished, Ayumi began to speak. "Okay, we will repeat yesterday's behavior on our travels. Try not to lag behind." That was a short speech. Koga muttered. "It was," she said. "We need to hurry and I don't feel like explaining this to a thick-headed idiot like you." Koga felt a vein in his head pop out. "A thick-headed idiot?" he questioned. "You heard right," she said as she turned away from him and huffed. "You are going to be the death of me." Koga muttered. "Okay, let's head out now. Keep up, Naruto." She said Naruto's name in a sweet voice which Koga noticed right away. "She is really getting on my nerves. She just doesn't want to be mean to children. What is wrong with that?" Arashi suddenly spoke up in his mind. "That is not what I mean. I am glad she is kind to Naruto. It is how she acts to me that annoys the hell out of me." Koga explained to Arashi. "Hey, sounds like she has something for you." Arashi explained. "Her? Arashi, she hates me, isn't that clear?" Koga asked. Arashi sighed and said, "You'll find out eventually." After a long time of silence and travel, Naruto finally asked, "Are we almost there yet?" Needless to say, their trip there was quickly turning chaotic. 2 more days later, in Suna. "Are we almost there yet?" Naruto asked for the millionth time. "Yes," Ayumi shouted as she saw the village in the distance. She sped her pace up and quickly met up with the village patrol. "What is your business in Suna?" one of the two they met up with asked. "We're here to negotiate about our current trade with you." Ayumi spoke with an official kind of sound in her voice. The 2 Suna guards chatted for a little bit before they finally allowed them in. "Enjoy your stay in our village. We will thank you." Ayumi smiled and dragged both Naruto and Koga into the large village in front of them. She turned to them and said, "Okay, Koga, take this card and go to the hotel mentioned on it and get us 2 rooms, one for me and one for both of you. I will go see the cage about our negotiations." She quickly ran off afterwards. "At least the card tells us where the place is," Koga muttered as he grabbed hold of Naruto's hand and they both began to walk to the hotel listed on the card. Naruto looked around excitedly, but got bored within a few seconds and complained saying, "This place is almost exactly like our village, it is just a lot more sandy." Naruto complained. "What were you expecting?" Koga asked. "Well, you know, like?" Naruto stopped mid-sentence. "What was I expecting?" Koga laughed and said, "Exactly, you weren't expecting much, so let's just get to our hotel." "Fine," Naruto muttered as he crossed his hands. One thing Naruto grew to like about this village apart from his was that no one gave him death glares. Everyone walked right past him, as though he was normal like them, which is not saying he isn't normal like them. Once they got to the hotel, Naruto noticed a playground nearby. "Dad, can I go out and play there?" he asked. "Fine by me, just don't get hurt," Koga muttered as he went to the counter to buy their rooms. Naruto ran over to the playground and quickly began to meet all the children there. They were all very kind, and even offered him to play tag with them. That, of course, was an offer Naruto could not refuse. "I got you," Naruto shouted as he tagged a girl around his age. He quickly ran away from her as she went to try to tag him back. "Come back here, Naruto," she shouted at him. "No thank you," he yelled back as he got quite a distance away. The game went on for quite a while until the children, too beat to continue, all sat on the ground and looked up to the sky. They began to pick out various clouds and say what they looked like. That looks like a fox, Naruto said as he pointed to the cloud right above him. Yeah, it does. The children around him agreed. Naruto looked over to the swings and saw a lone child on them. The child had red hair and a cloak all around him, covering him completely. The one thing Naruto noticed the most though, was what was written on the left part of his forehead, love. Who is that? Naruto asked as he pointed to the boy. That kid? He is Gaara, do not go by him. The child simply stated. Why should we all stay away from him? Naruto asked, now more interested. The children all exchanged glances and the boy continued to speak saying, he is a monster. He can control sand to crush people and that kind of stuff. Really? Naruto asked, now even more interested. Yeah, so don't go near him. The boy warned. Okay, Naruto said as he again glanced at the child known as Gaara. He is just like me. Naruto thought. It seems as though these kids never allowed him to play with them. Naruto sighed. I am going to see if he wants to play with us. Naruto finally stated as he got up. No, don't. One of the children said, almost begging. Yeah, he is a monster. If you ask him to play with us, we won't play with you anymore. Another child chirped. The others agreed with him shortly after. Shows how much of friends you really are. Naruto murmured as he walked over to Gaara. Surely enough, the children kept true to their words and ran off. Once Naruto finally reached Gaara, he held his hand out and said, Hi Gaara. I'm Naruto and I am wondering if you'd like to play with me? Go away, Gaara muttered as he looked to the ground. Come on, you're here all alone, can I at least swing next to you? Naruto asked again. I said, go away. Gaara warned. I guess I'll just swing right next to you. Then, Naruto muttered. Gaara looked up in surprise. Here was a child around his age who did not fear his warnings. I was warning you, now go away before I decide to hurt you. Gaara shouted. Sand suddenly shot up and spun around him. Why are you like this, Gaara? Naruto asked as he pulled back from the threatening child. Gaara began to remember painful memories. I am like this. I have to kill to feel a purpose. No one loves me. No one wants to be my friend. It's all a lie. Gaara screamed and sand that was laying the ground suddenly went directly at Naruto, who in fear jumped away right in time. What is wrong with you? I just asked to be your friend and you try to kill me. Naruto shouted. Stop lying to me. You're just like the rest. My purpose is to kill, and that is all. Gaara shouted at Naruto. Naruto, who is your new friend? A figure behind Naruto asked. Naruto jumped and turned around to see Koga. Dad, this kid, something is wrong with him. Naruto tried to explain. I see Naruto, stay here. I sense something within this kid. Something like you. Koga muttered as he walked towards the child. Stay away from me. Gaara shouted as the man advanced towards him. He lashed some sand at the man, but he simply dodged it and continued forward. Look child, I am only trying to help you. Koga said when he was sure he was out of earshot of his son. When did you find out about Shukaku? Gaara's eyes widened when the man said his demon's name. Why do you want to know? He screamed. This was bringing up more painful memories for him each passing moment, and he wanted this to end quickly, but the man in front of him was too powerful. Kid Shukaku and I go way back. Koga's red eyes pierced into Gaara's and the once powerful killing intent within Gaara's mind became one of fear. Who are you? Gaara asked, his voice beginning to crack up in fear. I am the adopted father of a child just like you Gaara. I can help you if you just allow me to. Koga explained. How can I trust you? Gaara murmured. He no longer had sand up and around him anymore, and he simply wanted to run from the man that was able to fear the demon within him. You need to learn to trust more. Koga muttered. Okay, I trust you. Gaara whispered. Naruto had come over when the sand seemed to die down and see what his father and Gaara were up to. Dad, did you find out the problem? Yes, it appears this child here is just like you Naruto, meaning he has a demon within him as well. Though unlike you, it appears he had cracked under the treatment the village has been giving him. Koga explained. Gaara's eye widened when he had heard Naruto was like him and he turned to him and asked, is it true? Are you really like me? Yeah, Naruto said as he put his hand behind his head and let off a small smile. Koga inspected the child in front of him for a little bit. Around his eyes it was completely black. It looks like the seal that keeps Shukaku inside of this kid isn't very well done. Koga thought. Gaara. Koga spoke up. How is the demon sealed inside of you? Gaara looked down and muttered, "When I was born, my mother was a sacrifice used in its sealing. I had never known my mother, and was told that she loved me very much, but one day, I learned that she cursed the village, and me wanting it all to die, and she wanted all her hatred to go to me, so I could fulfill her dream. I learned all of that 4 years ago." Koga nodded. That explains why he didn't seem so sane at first. He figured, "Gaara, allow me to finish the seal for you. It will allow you to rest well, and control the demon within you. And the only thing you have to do is accept my son's friendship." Gaara looked up at the man in front of him. "This isn't some kind of trick, is it?" he asked. "No," Naruto shouted. "So will you be my friend?" Naruto held out his hand for Gaara to shake if he accepted. Gaara looked back and forth between the two people. He had a huge debate in his head. His small sane side was saying to do it, while the side corrupted by Shukaku was telling him not to. Finally he made his decision. "I will gladly be your friend, Naruto," Gaara announced as he took a hold of Naruto's hand and shook. "Awesome, Gaara," Naruto shouted as he hugged his newest friend. Gaara was never this close to anyone, so it felt quite strange. Koga split them up and said, "Naruto, allow me to fix his seal first." Koga muttered a few things under his breath as he did a few hand signs. Suddenly all of his fingers turned a bright yellow-like color. Without any warning at all, he rammed it into Gaara's stomach, making the child scream in pain in the process, and effectively knocking him out. "Dad, did you kill him?" Naruto shouted in fear. "No, I guess I forgot to warn him that it was really painful," Koga muttered as he held the unconscious child. Naruto thought for a moment before asking, "Doesn't sealing require a lot of strange symbols to be written on the ground?" "Naruto, you're forgetting that I am over 1,000 years old. I know so many different jutsus." Koga thought for a moment before saying, "For example, when I was the evil demon fox you learned about, I stole many scrolls from powerful ninjas, showing some very powerful jutsus." "I see," Naruto muttered. Suddenly a light bulb went off in his head. "Why don't you teach me how to do some of those moves?" Naruto shouted. "Huh, no way, Naruto. The jutsu I just did on your little friend here, if used by a normal human, would have a 90% chance of death." "I see," Naruto muttered. "Now, let's head up to your room so I can put this kid down on a bed." He motioned to the child still in his arms. "Okay, Dad, let's go," Naruto shouted once again. In the hotel room, he sighed, the sun beat down on him, and he felt good. The breeze was just right and he could finally feel at peace without any killing intent rising up within him. "Wait, why isn't Shukaku saying anything in my mind?" the red-haired child thought. He then realized something. "Crap, I'm dreaming." He focused on waking up, and shortly after he did, he woke up as sweat. His once peaceful dream was turned into a panicked one. When he looked around he realized that Shukaku did no damage. What the? Suddenly the day's events ran through his head, and he understood now. "Gaara, you're finally awake," Naruto shouted happily as he entered the room carrying some food. The room was small. It had 2 beds with a lamp in between, a bathroom, and a kitchen. "Why did your father do that to me? It hurt like hell," Gaara muttered as he sat up. "He fixed your seal, Shukaku won't enter your mind, and you can now sleep. Of course the price was to be my friend," Naruto reminded him. "I remember now," Gaara muttered. "So, what do you want to do today?" Naruto asked as he sat next to his friend. "Well, it is getting pretty late, so let's go eat some dinner," Gaara said. "Sure, Gaara. Do you want to eat here or do you know of some good places to eat?" Naruto asked. Gaara thought for a moment before saying, "I never really went anywhere. Wherever I went people's fear of me was too great so I was never served." "I see," Naruto muttered. "Did the villagers at your village fear you and call you a monster and demon?" Gaara asked as he tried to strike up a conversation. "They called me a demon and monster, but instead of fear they expressed towards me. They showed me hate, they always threw things at me, and tried to hurt me." Naruto looked away, not wanting to remember the painful memories. "There was one time when I was nearly killed." "Really?" Gaara murmured. "If it makes you feel any better, I have had many assassination attempts done to me by my father," Gaara muttered. Naruto looked over in surprise. "Why does your father want you dead?" "Same reason everyone wants me and you dead. He viewed me as a project that had gone wrong, and ordered people to kill me. The one that came to kill me was the one that was caring for me. I no longer care for his name, as the last thing he told me was the truth that everyone but me knew about me," Gaara explained. Naruto looked away. Man, our lives have been pretty rough. Who is your dad anyways? My father is the case cage. Gaara muttered. Wait, the case cage? He should be an honorable person, he should never attempt to murder his child. Naruto shouted. Gaara looked over to his new friend and said, he isn't honorable, and sadly, I can only hope for when his death comes. So, when did you realize that your dad was Kyuubi? Gaara asked, changing the subject. That is funny actually. Naruto said laughing, only 3 days ago. Naruto said, and you still love him? Gaara asked. Naruto looked up to the ceiling and said, yeah, even though he once was the evil demon fox. He is now a kind and loyal person of my village, and I am proud to be his son. Gaara nodded. I wish I could feel that feeling. Maybe someday Gaara, you can. Naruto muttered as he looked to his friend. Yeah, possibly? Gaara whispered. Shortly after that the two boys decided to go out and try a new place to eat. Gaara and Naruto both left a note for Koga saying that they'd be out for a little while, and afterwards they left the hotel. In a restaurant. I have never done this before. Gaara admitted as he looked through the menu. What have you never done before? Naruto asked. I mean that as in, what do we do? Yelled out for someone to come and we choose what we want, or will they come eventually? Do we have to click some hidden button or something? Gaara explained. Naruto laughed a little and explained saying, they'll come over asking us what we want to drink first, then after a little bit they'll come and ask us what we want for our main course. I see. Gaara muttered. You do have money for yourself, right Gaara? Naruto asked. Gaara searched his pockets and realized that he had no money. Naruto, I don't have any money. Okay. Naruto searched his pockets, he pulled out a large sum and said while smiling, I think this will cover for both of us. So after they got their drinks and food, they began to eat. They talked very little for they both tried something that was completely new to both of them. After a little bit though, they were beginning to get full. Okay Gaara, I don't think I can eat anymore, Naruto muttered as he patted his stomach. Same here, Gaara muttered as he leaned against his chair. Here is your bill, their waitress said as she laid down their bill. Naruto instant set down the money, and she took it right away. Now that is over with, let's get going Gaara. Naruto muttered as he got up. Gaara followed suit, and soon both of them were walking along the road, no certain destination in their minds. Roads of Suna. Gaara and Naruto both were in a park. It was quiet, almost too quiet. They both were growing suspicious, and wanted to get out of there as soon as possible. That was after they felt the presence of a person creeping up behind them. Do you feel it Gaara? Naruto whispered. Yeah, someone is behind us. Gaara muttered. Show yourself. Naruto shouted as he turned around to see a man completely in black standing there. The moonlight was the only thing that revealed him, and it made him look quite imitating. Hello children, I just need your head Gaara, and the other can run away safety, can we agree to that? The man asked. Do you think he'll abandon my friend? Naruto shouted, I will not leave his side if he is going to be fighting someone who wants to murder him. Naruto shouted. Well then, I guess that you'll die with him as well. The man shouted as he jumped towards Naruto. No. Gaara screamed as sand that came up from the cracks in the cement ground intercepted the man's punch at his friend. We're going to do this the hard way, are we? The man said as he sighed. He pulled out a kunai, and both Gaara and Naruto fell back a little. Right about now, Gaara wished that he felt the killing intent from Shukaku. When the man charged, Gaara pushed his hand forward, making his sand fly directly at the guy. The man in black had little time to dodge the projectile, and that allowed him to be hit with it. With a sickening splat sound, the man was dead, and the two children were running away. When the two felt that they were far enough, Naruto finally said, Man, that was scary. I know, Gaara muttered, thank you for not leaving my side, Naruto. Gaara said as he breathed in a huge gulp of air. Yeah? Naruto managed to say. He looked up and realized that it was very late. Do you want to stay over at my place tonight? Well, I doubt my father and siblings would care much if I was gone for one night. Possibly even a whole lifetime. Gaara muttered. Naruto looked to the ground with a saddened face. Gaara's life was much more difficult than his own. Okay, let's get going Gaara. Naruto muttered as he ran for his hotel, with Gaara tagging along behind him. That night, Gaara realized something. It was that a true friend never leaves their friend's side during hardships, and always tries their best to assist their friend. So, with these thoughts in mind, Naruto was Gaara's first official friend. That's all for now. If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments.